Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be doing an update to my normal summon tier list from 2023. So almost 2 years ago, I did this exercise with Stengo. That video was almost, no, it was actually over 2 hours long. I'm pretty sure. The original video was over 2 hours long. And if you haven't seen it, at some point, go back and watch that. We're obviously not going to cover that at this very moment. But we had a lot of takes back then that were based on 2023 information, and we're going to be updating it with 2025 information because a lot has actually changed. And so one of the other things to note, and this was the same case in 2023 when I did it, we will not be including any tribute summons. Like Siroko's on there, but he's not really a tribute summon. So like Caius and Vanity's Fiend and Titanial and shit like that, we're not talking about those. This is just for the normal summons that you literally put on the field like turn one, basically, in regular games, and just like how they impact the game. These are basically the foundation of most decks. And so, yeah, that's what this is going to be based on. We have a lot to go through. So some of these I might even, when we discuss one, I might just like throw other things next to it, because if they're so similar, then we'll tier them accordingly. But in chat, how are you doing? You know, hello everybody. So let's get started. Stengo, do you want to, you can pick something to kick us off if you want, you know?
Yeah, so I think to start us off here, because I don't want to get too unhinged.
Right.
You know, I want to hide our intentions pretty well here.
Okay.
So why don't we go ahead and just start with a nice simple one. We're going to start with Shura.
Okay. So where is Shura? Okay, he's right here. So Shura, I am going to say Shura is a solid A tier normal summon.
Yes. Now I think what the bait is here is that many people could be quick to jump the gun and say that Shura is an S tier summon, just because of all the things that it enables. But one of the main things that I think separates a tier normal summon to an S tier is that, for the most part, an S tier normal summon plays the game with or without your opponent's
Exactly. That's exactly right. S tier summons, they don't actually care about anything your opponent's doing. A tier summons are monsters that obviously your opponent matters in the situation. And so Shura is absolutely absurd. We all know that, like, when you're playing Edison format, one of the things that everyone talks about is he opened Whirlwind Shura. They never say Whirlwind Bora or Whirlwind Kalut. They always say he opened Whirlwind Shura. Whirlwind Shura is like the quintessential ignorant opening of Blackwings that we all fear. His ability is ridiculous, like summoning Gale or Vayu or Mistral or Kalut. They're all insane things to get off of winning a battle. I think the thing that makes this card so broken, though, is the way it changes how you play the game when it's on the field. For example, like if I see a Shura on the field, I will not bring back Treeborn Frog unless I know for a fact I can convert the Treeborn Frog.
Yes.
The fact that this monster just sits on the field and prevents me from ever bringing back Treeborn Frog is insane by itself. Like, that's such a strong thing where you're just like, I'm not bringing back my free +1 because this monster simply exists. So
correct. Yeah, I mean, it also has all the additional benefits of just all the Blackwing archetypes. You know, Icarus Attack is a nice benefit with the Kalut, blah, blah, blah. It even enables the Shura effects even more. It's the centralizing strategy around Blackwings. Probably when it comes to Blackwings, it's Whirlwind, Shura, Dark Arm, and Blizzard are like the four like trinity of cards that you are trying to see and, you know, use their effects. So yeah, Shura, very solid. All right, Frizzy.
All right.
Where do we want to go next?
So I'm going to go straight to the top of the hill. I actually want to get this out the way because I get this question a lot. Hershey Bar recently asked me while I was playing Final Fantasy, minding my business. A lot of other people ask me this question all the time in my DMs or just like in passing now. Because the Frog OTK deck, Fishborg Frogs, Forgs, whatever you want to call it, has been absolutely dominating Edison format in January. It's won the only two tournaments we've had that are 100 people or more, which was the one GOAT format Italia tournament. And also there was the one by Soul Retro Games, that one that I streamed, the Unhinged stream. So those tournaments were both 100 plus players and they were both won by the same deck. This deck has not won a tournament before this year. And everyone's talking about it. The Frog channel is dominated by it at this point. Like, people are barely talking about any other Frog deck unless they're trying to get into Frogs and they're asking about like Frog Monarchs. Substitoad is not an Edison card. It's just not. It is not of Edison. It is of the future. It just got unbanned, I think, in Modern like a year ago. The card is
banned.
It's outrageous. It's an outrageous card. Yeah. It really doesn't belong, and I think that we're finally seeing like the apex of what this thing can do, because I've been exploiting Substitoad for years now, right? Like every Ultimate Time Wizard I've ever topped, and I've topped 4 of them, has been with frogs. A lot of my online tops in the beginning of me playing online were also with hero frogs. So I've been playing Substitoad. In fact, just in general, like most of my Edison tops involve frog decks. Like I have played Blackwings, Amaryllis, and shit like that too. But like most of them are just frog decks, and it's because I really quickly, when I came into this format, understood that Substitoad is the most ridiculous normal summon in this format, and it is not close. It is the apex of all normal summons. It by itself does entirely too much. It's not once per turn. It doesn't really have any weird drawback. Like its stats are great. Like it being a 1-star monster is great for 1-for-1 purposes. Junk Synchron bringing it back and bouncing it to your hand. It being a water monster is great. Great typing. Water art makes it ridiculous as well. Future Fusion, you can send it off of that and summon 0. Salvage it back. Like it just does a lot. Substitoad does a lot. Obviously, you pair it with the rest of the frog engine, you get the dupe block, which like pretty much everyone who plays Edison at some point has to succumb to the reality that if your deck cannot break a dupe block, it really isn't that competitive of a deck. This card gatekeeps so much of the format, and so we already knew like last year, and I don't know if people actually know this. Last year, frogs won the most Ultimate Time Wizards. So there was like 6 Ultimate Time Wizards, I think. Maybe there were 7. So the first one was Vegas. Hero Frogs won that one. Steve Silverman. Then there was me winning Indianapolis. Then there was Dream Frogs winning Sacramento and Nationals. So that's 4 Ultimate Time Wizards won by frogs. Substitoad obviously being at 3 in all of them. And then you had like 1 Ultimate Time Wizard was won by Value, 1 Ultimate Time Wizard was won by Blackwings, and 1 Ultimate Time Wizard was won by Gladiator. So like last year, this deck dominated the format. Like frogs as a deck, as an engine, dominated 2024. And I don't think that that's really going to change. In fact, it could actually just become more dominant now than it already was. And it's all because of this card. Like this card is making things outrageous. Like this card and Fishborg Blaster are insane, but also just like even outside of that, like Hero Frogs by itself is just such an insane deck with Substitoad. Dupe blocking somebody, summoning Absolute Zero, making him 3,500 with a dupe block up, so I can attack you, you can't attack me back is insane.
There was actually a duel that we were doing earlier today, where we were playing Hero Frogs. Just like as a casual, like off stream, like nothing video wise. And like, we've been watching so many different replays of like all the Forgs and like other frog decks. And we're just like, man, like Hero Frogs doesn't do what they do, but like Hero Frogs is just as unfair.
Yes.
Like you ended your field with like super dupe block and then you Absolute Zero Miracle Fusioned on them, attack them for like 4,900 damage. It's just like,
I was looping Caius. I had like a dupe block, a Substitoad, a Zero, a Caius. Then I turned the Substitoad into a swap frog, and I started just looping. And it's just like you cannot win this game. It's not winnable.
Our pre-discussion for the tier list, we were talking about Substitoad, and I was talking about it's like, you know what's so funny about Substitoad is that when we got to the peak of Hero Frogs, we thought that's like what broke Substitoad the most in this format. Then Dream Frogs came out because we were always making the discussion like Substitoad has to be so super unhinged because it gets like it just becomes emergency banned the next format immediately.
Yeah. Frog OTK happens and then Substitoad is never to be seen again for 10 years. So anyway, go ahead. Wrap it up because I wanted to move on, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we were just talking about it's just like Substitoad just like has to be so much more unhinged than Edison. Dreamfrog showed that, but then an even further layer of just being like, instead of just playing only defensively, now you can just kill through open field, Gores and Trag no matter what with Substitoad. It's just broken. Yeah,
card is insane. I don't think it's going to like change at any point. I think it is always going to be the best normal summon in the format. And why don't I go to another? So this one is going to move up. If you looked at the 2023 normal summon tier list, this one wasn't an S tier, but I think that my opinion of that has changed, and this is Lonefire Blossom. I actually think that Lonefire Blossom, we spoke about this in the very beginning, but the S tier normal summons are going to be the ones that really don't care about your opponent. they can kind of like, if you don't play the game, these normal summons are so ridiculous that they will force your opponent to act. And Lonefire Blossom, now that we're seeing this new like Super Solar Nutrient Power Tool Dragon Supervised Gigaplant deck, it's another one of those like Dragon Turbo-esque decks. It's in that same category of like Frog OTK, Dragon Turbo, and now there's this Plant Gigavice deck, Supervice, whatever you want to call it. But Gigavice is actually a good name for it because it's like Gigaplant plus Supervice, right? So the Gigavice deck is ridiculous, but I also think that even if we're not talking about that deck, right? Amaryllis is ridiculous too. Like last year, Amaryllis got a lot of crazy credentials. Second at a lot of tournaments. I got second at Raleigh. Was it Raleigh? Yeah, I think Raleigh's the one that Eric won. So yeah, it got second at Raleigh. It, I think, got second at an RBET where it lost to Hero Frogs in the finals, which kind of like makes sense. It also got like, I don't know, it got like a lot of other tops and stuff just throughout the year. So it's been doing phenomenal, like honestly all year. Like it's been one of the absolute best normal summons in the format. And I think that it's going to continue because, like I said, that new Gigavice deck is really, really strong. But just, I think that what people don't realize, I think that you also get non-gamed by Amaryllis in the same way that like a Dragon Turbo deck non-games you, but people don't see it that way because they don't draw a bunch of cards when they do it. But for example, if I go Lonefire, Titanial, and if at any point I like trade in or find a way to send Amaryllis to the graveyard, and on the end phase I bring back Amaryllis, you were under so much pressure immediately in that game because of the Titanial and the Amaryllis being there that your chances of winning that game are extremely low no matter what deck you're playing, to be honest. Like just them opening up Lonefire and having a plant next to it, like Vayu folds to that, Blackwings usually fold to that, like Frogs can fold to that very easily as well, because it's like if I'm not even set up yet, that is a very, very aggressive field. So Lonefire is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the short and sweet of it, with Lonefire, you know, the beginning of Edison, the main interactions that were really looked for is that it gets you Dandelion access for quick draw, gets you to Titanial. A lot of decks were only playing one Titanial, so usually you were doing a flip of, do you get to summon Titanial turn one, or is it like a random, like, set Dandelion and then try to Lonefire, or just go straight into Dandelion as like a wall? Through the innovations of Edison being revisited as a format, you know, a lot of people have been trying to make the decks where they're trying to abuse Lonefire, because even though the Lonefire in itself is not, it is a soft once per turn where you can't just keep going on and on and on like Substitoad. You know, you do have all the abusatory actions with it. You know, you can go Lonefire Tribute itself, then you can go Mark of the Rose, banish Lonefire, then bring it back with DDR, then use Lonefire effect again. And then it's like, it's the escalation of all these effects where, you know, the age of the format is really showing. When there are no limitations on activations, or you only have like soft once per turn activations, and they do really strong effects, the art of breaking the format is just, how do I abuse this effect over and over and over again? And that's where Lonefire is kind of aligned with Substitoad, where it's kind of reaching that same polarity in how much you spam the effect, which is just too broken.
Also, like Miracle Fertilizer, that card wasn't played really until 2024. And that just kind of changed how powerful opening Lonefire is. Like before it was like, okay, Lonefire goes into Titanial, and that's just it. And you know, it's like, that is strong. Like I said, that is a very strong opening, but it wasn't enough because there was no real follow-up without Miracle Fertilizer constantly bringing that damn thing back. Like over and over again. So really strong. Lonefire is definitely an S tier normal summon. Right now, we're not putting these in any particular order, although like Substitoad is going to stay in this exact spot the entire video. But then I'll move things around like as we continue.
Yeah, we can kind of do it on feel, but if you want to know right now what's the absolute best normal summon, it's 100% Substitoad. It's not even an argument.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to do like some, you know, regular, like Breaker, solid B tier. I only ever see this card sided. Usually decks like Frogs will side it to deal with like Fossil Dyna, Deprison, Oppression, stuff like Mask of Restrict, really good against that as well. It's not bad by any means. It's just not, it's not good enough to main in most decks.
Yeah.
And then side decking it is like, you know, it's fine. It's not like, oh my god, he drew Breaker, that was so crazy. It's like, he had a Breaker and he broke my Oppression or whatever.
Yeah, the main thing that's hard with Breaker is that it's an MST on legs, but just the same way as MST, it's only as impactful as the cards you actually want to hit. So like if your opponent hasn't flipped an Oppression or a Mask of Restrict, or like, you know, has been like, hey, this is the card you want to pop with MST or Breaker, like Breaker can kind of just sit in your hand and you're like, well, I don't really want to summon this and just get a bottomless. Like I actually want to pop something good. So it's a summon that is very conditional. You can't just kind of throw it out.
All right, so yeah, we were talking about Breaker, but like I said, I don't think there's that much of it when it comes to Breaker anyway.
No.
Like it's solid.
The main thing I was just saying is that like to hit the card you actually want to hit, they kind of have to expose it, which until they actually do, it just might sit in your hand. So it's not something you can just kind of throw out and like get immediate advantage off of, because it just might get fucking bottomless.
Yeah, I think in that same like category of side deck monsters that are solid but not anything crazy, and this could even be lower, but DD Assailant. So the logic behind this, for people wondering like why do people play DD Assailant in their Frog side deck sometimes and not DD War Lady, and it's really simple. Deck Devastation Virus is DD War Lady. It does not hit DD Assailant because he's bigger. The other thing is that the reason why you would even side DD Assailant in the first place is because it's a searchable out to things like Vanity's Fiend. And technically you can just like out an Absolute Zero or a Monarch 2 if you just set it against those cards and they attack into it. So it does have value in that way. It's big enough to beat over Fossil Dyna. So it's an anti-deck Devi card. It's searchable by Rhoda, which Hero Frogs already plays. And it's just like utility. I did side it this past year, and I topped with it, and I never actually used it successfully. Like, I remember the one time I drew it, I lost that game. I think I might have drawn it twice, but the one time I actually like put it on the field, I lost that game. And I'm never siding that again. Like, I don't think DD Assailant is necessary, but I get why some people side it. Like, I won't look at someone's side deck and see the card and be like, oh man, like that's a pretty ass side deck card. It's just like, it's just not for me. But it is a solid normal summon to out the things. Like, if sometimes you need the DD Assailant to be DD Assailant, so I get it.
Yeah,
it's just not for me. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, I think personally for Assailant, I'd rather just side a trap, because if I'm trying to go anti-meta to like Vanities or like non-DDV cards, I'd rather just protect my life points and not have to use a normal summon.
Yeah. Or
even have to waste my Rhoda. Like, if I got to use my Rhoda versus where I could just like set the prison or like Mirror Force or anything like that to deal with like the Floodgate, I'd rather do that.
Agreed. I'm going to, so this is going to be, I'm going to sweep a couple things real quick. So all of the like recruiter like guys, so there's like Tomatoes in this category, like Shining Angel, Nova Summoner. Yeah, like all of these cards in early Edison, like 2021, 2022, you know, before the age of every deck that's not Frogs main decks a bunch of D-Prisons and it's the most played card.
Yep.
They just don't work. In 2025, these cards they do not work. I'm not saying that decks that play them can't ever do well again, because they will, because Edison is a format that is still very much unsolved, and also, even if it were solved, people are going to play what they like to play. So people will like playing Zombies. Zombies just got second place at YCS Anaheim against Blackwings, but that's one of the matches that I feel like shows how bad recruiters are. Blackwings is like, this fucking card, Shura, makes it where these cards are to me, they're unplayable. Like, if you notice, I have not played a deck that uses these cards and anything like these. Mother Grizzly, Flying Kamakiri, you name it, like UFO Turtle. I don't like these cards because they require your opponent the same way that like GBs require your opponent, kind of, but in a worse way. Like they require it in a worse way because they need your opponent to swing into them to really get value. Technically you can swing into your opponent, but like then you risk just getting D-Prisoned. And again, D-Prison is the most played card in the format. It is the most played card in the entire format. Like, that's crazy. So these cards are really hard to resolve. As ProStorm said here, like, recruiters don't resolve ever nowadays. Between Caius, the Vanity's Fiend, like Absolute Zero, stuff like that, it's just like, it's so hard. It's so hard to get these off.
It's also just like a lot of the times, especially with the two on the left, Turtle and Tomato, a lot of the decks that play those have like very anti-synergistic like cards with them. Like you don't ever really want to Caius tribute your recruiters, but sometimes you're put in positions where your opponent just straight up will not attack them.
Yeah.
And they could also be playing a Caius deck, so be like, okay, you set recruiter, I set recruiter, or I set my Ryko. So, like, if the Ryko stays here, I'm going to pop your background, then I'm going to banish your recruiter, and, like, just nothing happens. Like, recruiters just do not enact enough pressure by themselves because they are just completely like, please attack so I can actually search the real broken card instead of these.
Yeah, they're just fine. Okay, in A tier, I'm going to put right next to Shura, Gale. So, it's funny because while this is a normal summon, and it being a normal summon certainly matters, what also makes this card outrageous is that it is a special summon as well. Gale is one of the most powerful normal summons in the format. It outs so many broken cards for free, like Absolute Zero and Stardust Dragon and Vanity's Fiend and Caius. All these common monsters that are like the boss monsters of the format, they all get destroyed by Gale. Brianna gets outed by Gale. Like, Gale almost outs everything relevant. And like the things that it doesn't out, if you have any other card with the Gale, it does just out them then. But for the most part, like any normal game state, Gale is just probably the card that your opponent doesn't want to see, and it's at 1, so it's just annoying enough to be problematic. I have Gale as my most hated normal summon in the format because I'm a frog player, so I don't ever really get to play Gale. And when I am in really strong positions, oftentimes the one thing that will come out of nowhere to me is Gale just being special summoned with a Sirocco or, usually it's with Sirocco. Sirocco Gale is crazy. Like that combination of cards, I don't care how good your game is going. They go Sirocco Gale and all of a sudden you're like, God damn it. Now they have my Absolute Zero. Then they go Synchro for Stardust, attack over 0, negate the effect, keep their whole field. My 0 just literally became a -1 basically. Yeah. Like I got no value out of my 0. Just gross. Like Gale was so gross. There's a reason it used to be at 3 in 2009 before Edison, like the year before Edison, it was at 3, and then Edison format they put it at 1 because the card is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. It's a ridiculous card.
Yep. I mean, yeah, it gets on their bottomless. It's also a great level. It gives a lot of decks Black Rose access.
Yeah.
You have any 4, or if you're just playing Blackwings, you can just turbo Black Rose, and Black Rose is a great synchro. So I mean, the fact that Gale, as you said, kills pretty much every relevant monster of the format, gets on their bottomless, which is already a shitty card.
Yep.
And then just gives you, most decks consistent access to one of the best synchros of the format. Great card.
Yeah. Okay, so this one is moving up as well from the last tier list, but I'm putting Hamster in S tier. I have to be honest. So I hate set monsters. You guys know that about me, but I'm trying to be unbiased in this tier list. And I try to be unbiased on this channel a lot. I'm not pushing any weird agendas. I'm not going to tell you that like fairies are the best deck or anything like that. Ridiculous. Hamster by itself can just win games, and often it actually just does win games. Here's the reality of the situation. When your opponent sets a monster and you're thinking it's either Ryko or Hamster, the differences between those two things, if you play into it being Ryko, and what I mean by playing into it being Ryko, like you go summon Vayu, attack, or like summon Treeborn Frog or something, like attack, or summon Swap Frog, send Treeborn, attack, or like anything where you're trying to play into it being a Ryko and it is instead a Hamster, the amount of tempo. Do you guys realize that Hamster is a +2? Like it's a +2. Hamster literally flips, puts a Ryko on the field, +1. So it Stratos is a fucking card to the field. Then they go draw, flip it, pop another card, it literally +2. Like Hamster resolving is a +2. To be clear, SJC Edison in 2010, where Jeff Jones won, he won with a Hamster deck. Like he was playing 2 Hamsters. He's one of the first people that realized that Hamster is absolutely unhinged. Like the card is just broken as hell. It obviously fuels Pot Avarice. It fuels Caius. There's a whole engine in Edison format that is very popular called the Hamster Ryko Caius engine, HRC. Every time you see people use the acronym HRC or talk about Hamster Ryko Caius, Hamster's involved in that equation because Hamster is ridiculous. Like it enables that entire sequence of, even if they don't attack into it. Here's what's broken about it, and here's why it's inevitable. I don't care if you don't attack my Hamster. I don't care, because the deck that is playing Hamster always has Caius in it and other threats usually that are like, okay, flip Hamster if you didn't attack it, get Ryko, tribute the Hamster, summon Caius. That plays insane. Now I have a set Ryko and a Caius on the field. This is a typical like Vayu scenario that they do. Typical in like Machina, the Machina control deck, which is also a really powerful deck. Hamster Ryko Caius. People who still swear about quick draw, Hamster Ryko Caius. And there's a bunch of others, right? There's the Dragon deck that plays Hamster Ryko Caius. Like it's just an insane engine. But it starts with Hamster being, it makes Ryko, it protects Ryko in a weird way. Like normally, if a deck just played Ryko and not Hamster, then it's not really a guess when people set up monsters, like, oh, it's just Ryko every time. But the fear of it being a Hamster literally will give your opponent turns. Like, I've been afraid of a Hamster so bad before, and so is everyone else, if you're intelligent. I've been afraid of a Hamster so much that I will not touch it. Like, I'm just like, I will wait to see what happens with that card, but I am not about to swing into that fucking thing. And some decks, like Vayu Turbo, which is arguably the best deck in the format, right? Some decks don't care. Like, if you don't swing into the Hamster, again, they still go flip it +1, normal summon Gruffer, send Vayu, or normal summon Plague, or like summon Gale, or whatever. They can just do more things to pressure you and force you into committing into the Ryko. So now you still have to deal with the Ryko that you didn't want to attack into the Hamster for. And if you lose this 50-50, like again, if you swing into a Hamster with a Vayu, bro, you probably lose that game against Vayu Turbo. Like, honestly, if you're playing against Vayu and you go summon a monster attack face down and it's a fucking Hamster and you didn't kill the Hamster, you probably lose like more than 50% of the time. You lose that entire game you just lost because that just happened. Like, it's that bad.
Yeah. It's just so strong because when those situations happen and like you have a Gores in your hand and maybe you don't have defense that you can set behind after that turn, like that battle phase ends.
Yep.
And they go Caius your monster and they go attack with Caius, you're just gonna kind of look dumb there where you're just like, all right, well, I mean, I could drop the Gores and it just dies for free because this Ryko that I just gave him just completely fucks up my field. I mean, Hamster Ryko Caius from the very beginning of Edison to now has been a mainstay during the entirety of the format, and Hamster's the centerpiece of it because it enables all parts of the engine. Hamster searches the Ryko, Hamster's tribute material for Caius. It's just he's the star of the show.
4-star monster. It's just an amazing card. Okay, so I'm gonna put DD War Lady at the top of like B tier. I think this card is not bad per se. The problem that I have with it is that we obviously are in a deck devastation virus meta right now, so a lot of people are just maining deck devastation virus, and I thought that DD War Lady had a really good moment in 2023 towards like the end when Machina Control kind of came out, and there were Machina Control decks and Dragon decks that were playing 3 DD War Lady. And when I would play those decks, I'm like, yo, she actually is a really good card in Edison format. Like, she stops Shura. She goes 1-for-1 with Absolute Zero, which is kind of hard to do. She does, like, Treeborn Frogs are at risk. Lightsworn has a hard time getting 4 names in the graveyard. Like, she does a lot. She's held back by the fact that she's a normal summon. She's held back by the fact that she's 1500, so she gets bottomless. She is a battle effect, so she gets deprisoned. She's a 1500 or lower monster, she gets deck devied. Like, she definitely has her issues, but like her with cards like Honest is insane. I like DD War Lady. I just think that right now in 2025, she's just not that good. I'd even say that like she probably is here with the recruiters because she has a recruiter like effect. In fact, I'm gonna put her here because I think that we're in a situation where I can't think of the last time DD War Lady was in like a deck that topped in the main deck. You guys can let me know if something comes to the top of your mind, but like a deck in 2024 that topped a major, I'm talking about Peak of the Beak, I'm talking about EWCQ, RBET, Ultimate Time Wizard. I can't think of the last time DD War Lady has carried somebody into a top 8 in the main deck. So, and I don't even know why you would side DD War Lady, to be honest. Like, but whatever. That's not the point. I think that this card is like a solid C tier right now. And this is all, we're basing this off of today's metas, right? So, conversely though, I think this guy, where do I want to put him? Because I think he's broken. Like, I genuinely think that Koaki Meiru Drago is broken. I really do. It's a normal summon, but it usually gets special summoned, if we're being honest. Like, the way games typically play out, it usually gets normal summoned, or I was gonna say, it usually gets special summoned by Red Med, of course, at the end of like a combo to kill people.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I would put it, because effectively, how this card is utilized. This card is utilized to kill your opponent. The back row is cleared.
Yep.
It's been special summoned after you summon, 2,800 plus guy attack monster guys in a row, right? I would personally think it probably goes in A tier because it follows the same game plan where it's the centerpiece of the deck for the core combo of Dragon Turbo or just Dragon-like decks, where once you have grinded them out of the resources with Disaster Dragons, or once you have accumulated all the pieces to guarantee an OTK with a ready back row, Drago is just the finishing piece where it's like, okay, no back row, I can summon all my things. Drago means no interaction. It's also not a bad stat line to just beat down with because it beats over all 1,800 monsters, which is very relevant in Edison.
Yeah, I agree.
When it comes to Drago's typing, he doesn't really do anything special with typing, but the one thing to consider is that it kind of can work as a one-sided floodgate, because a lot of times when you are playing dragons, you can still special summon under him. There are a lot of meta decks that have a difficulty of special summoning anything that isn't light or dark for the most part.
The best decks are light and dark decks outside of frogs, obviously.
Right.
So two of the top 3 decks in the format, Blackwings and Value, they do get shut down in certain scenarios by just a Drago being on the field. Everyone who's played Blackwings or Value has lost to Drago being Drago because it's oh fuck, I have Blizzard in my hand, but I actually can't really use it, or I have Value and Sirocco Engrave or Plague Spreader Engrave and I can't use it, or I have Gores in my hand and I can't use it. Drago is broken. I think that we don't see it often enough, but I do think that if we're talking about the overall meta and how things are shaping out, I think this card is very, very broken. I could see putting it at the top of B tier, but I really think that it's straight up better than that because of it's a floodgate. It's a floodgate that's pseudo searchable floodgate. Floodgates are just broken in every format of Yu-Gi-Oh! If you just look at how Yu-Gi-Oh! Progressed with power creep all the way to 2025, even when you go back and start doing floodgates earlier when people weren't onto it, it still breaks those formats. So Drago is ridiculous. I think that when I see the whole tier list, I might move it. I might move it down. I might move it further down the line because it's not at the top of A tier, but just because he got called out so early, that's why it's there. So I don't know if anything would be D tier per se, but I think if I had to put anything in D tier, if you had to guess something that I would put in straight up D tier, Stango, what do you think would be a D tier normal summon that's
gadgets?
You hit it right on the.
So
let
me because now it's time for us to get crazy
instantly.
Because now it's time for us to get crazy, because this is what I was waiting for.
You hit it so fast.
So let's be real here. I don't care what any of y'all say. Gadgets are not Stratoses. Gadgets are also just not +1 either. Because I'll tell you something right now. You know what's not a +1? A 1,300 monster that you're searching. All right? A 1,300 monster that does nothing besides
owes you money. Thank you for the sub.
A 1,300 monster that does nothing besides search a 1,400 monster. Okay? The absolute only thing that can make gadgets even slightly playable is Fortress. If Fortress was not a card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Period, gadgets would be so unbelievably unplayable. It'd be painful. It'd be painful to watch anyone play gadgets. They'd be playing backyard Yu-Gi-Oh! They just provide no value. They, the best thing that they do is they eat D-prisons if your opponent for some reason just can't deal with a gadget. And additionally, if you have a field full of gadgets, they lose to a single special summon Cyber Dragon.
Yeah,
your whole field down.
That is also very true. Gadgets just got aged out of Edison format, if we're being completely honest, from a competitive standpoint. Again, I'm not saying that gadgets can never top an event again, because that's not what this tier list is about. This tier list is just, out of all the normal summons in the format, right? Out of all the normal summons, if I see my opponent go turn 1, they win the die roll, and they go summon a gadget, I'm going to go, oh, thank God. I'm going to sink back into my chair and be oh, thank God. I'm playing against gadgets round 1. Thank you, bracket luck. Round 1, thank you so much. I'm going to set Dupe Frog and OTK this guy. Literally.
That gets devastated.
Oh yes, that too. We're in a deck devastation format.
Devastated.
Yo, the fact that right now is the worst possible time, like this is also the worst possible time to be playing gadgets, because while frogs also get devastated, when frogs don't, or when they just have like salvage or whatever, they just kill you. Like, okay, you devastated me, and it did not end me, so now I'm just going to fucking kill you. And gadgets don't have that. They don't have the like, oh, I got devastated, let me pot. Okay, let me see what you drew off of the pot, because you're still under deck devi. Gadgets just, they got aged out by deck devi, they got aged out by frogs. I think that frogs being in the format was such a bad thing for gadgets. So in SJC Edison 2010, gadgets got second. Gadgets have never been, and I dare say never will be, second in another major Edison event ever. And they haven't been since 2010, when people didn't know what they were doing, obviously, because Quick Draw won. But like, literally in 2025, I cannot see a world where gadgets can get second place. Like, God forbid they win something, right? But like, I don't think gadgets will ever get second place, and they've never even been close to second place since.
I'll eat a shoe.
You'll eat a shoe?
I'll eat a whole shoe.
I'll hold that. I'll hold you to it. I'll hold you to. I'll eat a shoe.
I'll eat a whole shoe if gadgets get second.
Yeah.
Ever.
I don't think they're going to get second at a. I just don't think it's going to happen. So, the deck is not good. It's definitely aged out by deck devi, by frogs existing. Like, frogs literally just existing. I think Dream Frogs kills this deck too, because like, one dupe block is already problematic for a gadget deck, but imagine multiple dupe blocks. Like Madara said, what are you going to do about the second one or the third one? There's just no world where I want to play gadgets in 2025. I think that the only world where gadgets would be really good is if Hero Beat became a dominant deck again, and that's just not currently going to happen. And speaking of Hero Beat, is it time? Is it time?
So listen, I'm gonna get unhinged. Okay, I'm going to get very unhinged right now. All right, I know you put it in B tier. I'm making the case for C tier.
Okay. So
let's be fair to Alius, okay?
Yep, let's be fair.
Because I made these points in the first tier list video.
By the way, hold on, let me just interject.
Yes.
If you guys haven't seen our 2023 Normal Summon Edison tier list video on YouTube, check that out. You can literally just go to the end and see where Alius is. I think Alius is like high S, like A tier or something. He's like an A tier summon or something like that. Obviously in 2023, Diva Hero Beat and Hero Beat were Diva Hero Beat, really. Diva Hero Beat was a really powerful deck because Blackwings had taken over. Diva Hero Beat had a really positive matchup in War League against Blackwings, like a really, really good record against Blackwings. And it probably still does have a solid matchup against Blackwings, but I don't think it's like as bad as it used to be. So Alius was very highly valued in 2023. But now, like, not only has people's information, we've all gotten smarter in this format. Like, everyone's been playing it for longer, and you've just gotten better and better at the format. The deck that he's in, the decks that he's in, outside of Hero Frogs is like the pinnacle of what that card can do. But in terms of like Hero Beat, ass. Like, he's ass now. Like, Alius is so ass now. It's like sad how much of a fall off Hero Beat has had. Hero Beat hasn't done well, like really well, consistently in over a year. Like, it's been over a year since people have been like in fear of Hero Beat. We used to side this card. We used to side Snowman Eater because this guy was that much of a problem. This card is no longer side decked anywhere because this guy is no longer a problem. It's just like all the decks are more unfair. All the Lonefire decks, this becoming a deck I think is also problematic. Amaryllis being a deck in the format that did not exist and being refined with the miracle fertilizers and shit made it where Gemini Spark is straight up awful. Like, Titanial shits on Gemini Spark like no other. It's such a bad matchup to play against Amaryllis if you're on Hero Beat.
Yeah, you're getting cooked in that matchup.
Dream Frogs came out also. And like, again, if you can't deal with one dupe block, imagine getting dupe block 2 or 3 or 4 times, God forbid. Because when I'm playing Hero Frogs, I only could dupe block you one time, and if you break it, then like my deck just has to do other stuff to win. And it does have other options, obviously, but at least the Hero Beat player can take a sigh of relief. Okay, I made it through the dupe block this game. so I don't have to see it again. But when Dream Frogs came out, they fucking pot Avarice and do it again, and then people started playing Salvage and do it again. Yeah, like what are you going to do about the second one, literally? So because there's decks that dupe block you multiple times, like the same thing is true about Forgs, Fishborg, Frogs, they also dupe block you multiple times, or just like flat out kill you because you put a fucking Alias on the field, and God forbid you put an Alias on the field, because that is a 1900 monster, which is perfect for a Colossal Fighter Armory Arm play to equip it, and now my Colossal's 28, and your guy's 29, and I take 100, and you literally die because you have an Alias.
That's fine. I can take three 19s if I'm at 8,000. That's all right.
It's so bad. Alias is so bad now. It's actually the perfect attack power to get Colossal Armory Arms right now. It is the best attack power to be. Obviously, if there's a warrior in the graveyard, then it changes it slightly. I just have to put 2 Armory Arms on your Alias, but like between Dupe Frog happening to you multiple times, like literally just setting a Dupe Frog is like, dear God, how do I deal with that, right?
Yes.
It's a normal summon actually, like it actually is a normal summon. It's also terrible without Gemini Spark. When you don't draw Alias with Gemini Spark, it is ass. You are literally playing a normal monster. There's no way around it. Like your deck is awful. Your deck is awful.
The game of Edison has just advanced so much where like you cannot afford for all of your monsters to produce value. And if Alias does not have Gemini Spark, he does not produce value when he gets summoned. The only singular reason that he is not D tier is because you can use him for Miracle Fusion. That is it. That is the only reason, because Absolute Zero is one of the best monsters in the entire format.
Yeah.
If he was a Destiny hero monster, he'd probably be D tier.
Like flat out.
All right. Yeah. So, like, if there was some reason that you couldn't use him for, Absolute Zero because you can use Destiny hero, whatever. If he wasn't a hero, awful. Unplayable. Yeah, he has. So when we talked about him in 2023, we definitely rated Alias very high because he had a lot going for him. His typing is amazing, his stats are amazing, his attributes amazing, his name is amazing because he's elemental hero, he's light, he's warrior, he's 1900. So he does have like great stats for 2021 Edison, but it's 4 years later. We're in 2025, and like when you look at the top decks now, they just don't give a fuck about an Alias. Like I can't think of Amaryllis, Frogs, Hero Frogs, Dream Frogs, Fishborg Frogs, Vayu, Blackwings. All of these decks just do unfair things, and like Alias just doesn't do anything. I will tell you, when Hero Frogs like really got solidified and Alias was part of the deck list, I was very happy to summon an Alias into like a problematic monster.
Yeah.
Now when I have to summon an Alias, I'm looking for every excuse not to. I'm like, can I do any other play besides summon Alias?
Yeah.
Like literally anything else.
Okay. I want to tier this guy. I want to put this thing very high. I think Card Trooper. So this is my second most hated normal summon in the format. My 2 most hated normal summons are Card Trooper and Gale. I've literally lost in Ultimate Time Wizard Tournament. Like the first one ever. The first one ever, I lost to Matt Kalinda, who's the champion. I lost to him in Swiss, and I lost to him in top 4. And these 2 cards played a big role in me losing to him both times. And I never forgot that, because like my like losses keep me up at night, I always say, like jokingly. But like I never forget why I lost a game. Trooper is broken. Trooper's at 1. God forbid if Trooper wasn't at 1. Different, like the format I think actually would genuinely be like more annoying, more obnoxious, because his stats, everything about him is just ridiculous. Like the fact that he gets under bottomless perfectly, like he just perfectly gets under bottomless, but then he gets perfectly over Stratos, over Greffer, over Armageddon Knight, like crashes into Alias, draws a card, so +1 there, beats over Gearframe, beats over Lila, beats over fucking Garoth, like beats over Hamster, and then if I beat over a Hamster, I don't even give a fuck that you got a Ryko, because what are you going to do with it? I'm not putting any more cards on the field, nooka, so you're going to have to fucking pop my Card Trooper. Like, it literally is the most obnoxious monster. I hate this thing.
My God.
I hate Card Trooper, bro. Like, I hate it.
Another big point that I really have to point out is that in the decks that really abuse it best, and I think that's Vayu Turbo. I think every other deck, like
Lightsworn can use it or whatever. It's good in Lightsworn, but it's not Vayu level broken.
Yeah. Like every other deck just uses it as, a means to an end. Like Card Trooper is a very vital part of the success of Vayu. And I think the thing that enables the value strategy so well with Card Trooper is that it's a proactive way to get the milling going.
Yeah.
Instead of setting, instead of having to find the other one of a spell and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Card Trooper is a way of going like, mill 3, look at my graveyard. You know, now that I milled this stuff in my graveyard, I don't want to attack anymore. I can just keep milling. You got a back row back there, and I got Card Trooper through. That's a deep prison. That's cool. Cool story, bro. Set bottomless. You summon Shura bottomless. Oh, mill 3 again. I milled 6. Oh wow, look at that. Plague, Gardener, and 2 pieces. That's crazy.
Yeah, it does a lot. I think that what you said is the key thing about him is that it's a proactive way to mill 3. And so there are situations where you have a Dark Arm in your hand, or you have a Christia in your hand, or you have a JD in your hand, and you just need to hit something off of Trooper. Like you're like, oh, I'm like 1 fairy or 1 Lightsworn name or 1 dark or 2 darks away or whatever. Like I need to hit. I have a value. I need a Sirocco. I have, I can hit my Plague. I have 10 cards left in my deck, and Plague is one of them or whatever. I can hit a Gardener. The fact that it's proactive is so busted, and its stats. Just chef's kiss to Card Trooper. Card Trooper, I think, is like one of the absolute best A-tier monsters in the format.
It's just really the only thing with the card is that if it gets deep prison, that sucks. But it's almost completely like devoided of weakness.
Yeah, even if it gets deep prison though, like the mills by themselves can be enough to make deep prison
the damage
minus.
could already be done by that point.
Yeah.
But like that's the only thing you could say. So like as far as like weakness, like 98% positives, like 2% negatives to it. Like it's an insane card.
Yeah, really, really ridiculous. Okay, I am going to put Kaiku up here. I'll put him in like the middle. Like he, break. I think Breaker's a little bit better, honestly. Like I'm not even joking. Kaiku's good. I think that he's a little overrated, but I do think he's good.
Oh man, I agree with this so much. I feel like Kaiku has been like the song of summer. This is like the summer song. Like everyone's just been like, man, Kaiku's just so impactful and stuff like that. And there are a lot of games and decisions where like, when you're playing against certain decks, like Frogs versus Values post board, you are like kind of like, okay, Swap Frog past Treeborn is actually like a little risky now because like you could be playing Kaiku.
This card single-handedly makes that play like you said, more risky.
Yeah, I think the main thing that comes to Kaiku, and it's kind of very similar to all the other B tier ones, where it's like sometimes with Kaiku you just don't exactly get the ideal situation to use it.
Yes.
Until it presents itself.
And that's what I do not like about it. It requires like these very specific conditions, and it uses your normal summon. It gets hit by every possible trap in the format that people would use on a monster. Like it gets hit by everything, and when it does, it doesn't get any value. Like it doesn't, at least with Dyna, because I'm going to rank Dyna right after this. Spoiler alert, Dyna is like a much higher rated monster for multiple reasons we'll talk about. But like Kaiku, I understand why people switched from like playing Dyna as much and started playing Kaiku more. It made sense because Hero Frogs was very dominant. And I think that Kaiku is very good against Hero Frogs because it stops Miracle Fusion from the graveyard. Yep. Which is really strong. Like that is, do not get, like, make no mistake. I am not delusional. I know that Kaiku's broken against Hero Frogs. I just think that Hero Frogs isn't the only frog deck in the format anymore. And it's not as good against the other ones. And it's because it literally can get you killed against like Fishboard frogs and stuff. Like you literally might die. You might also die against Dream Frogs too, because that deck happens to also play Fishboard Blaster and Death Frog and Colossal Army Arm you as well. But like my point is, it requires conditions that I think make it a little bit more narrow than the cards that are higher. Like the cards that are higher so far are Floodgate Monster that stops Light and Dark, which are the two most ridiculous attributes. Like Water, Light, and Dark are the best attributes, but I think Dark is like the #1 attribute in the format. And then you have like, the other ones. So this is just a Floodgate. Gale, ridiculous. Shura, ridiculous. Literally changes the way you have to play the game. Card Trooper, we talked about. Hamster, you lose the game if you attack into a hamster with a monster that's not strong enough to kill it. Like you just flat out get, they go +2, you lose. Lonefire, proactive, Substitoad, God card, So everything above it, I think is like fairly above Kaiku. I'm noticing that B tier right now is like all side deck cards. Like these are all cards that I don't think you main any of these. They're all like side deck cards. Okay, I'll put a side deck card high though.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Easy.
This completely
easy.
This plus Royal Decree is like an FTK against Blackwings.
Yes.
This combo literally forces Blackwings to play, like, to be real, no one wants to play Cyber Dragon. No one wants to play that
that's
card.
So true.
Like,
that's so true. I feel so bad
on.
having to side deck Cyber Dragon. I'm not gonna lie. Like being forced to put a Cyber Dragon in my side deck, I just feel bad. Because it's so primitive. I don't know if any of y'all caught on,
but like around 2.5 years ago, me and Frazier were always talking about like Cyber Dragon is awful. Like Machina's not out here because frogs just shit. Like they don't even need Cyber Dragon. They just fucking bop no diff.
I've never Cyber Dragoned a Machina player by playing frogs, and like, I've never lost a Machina control. Now I know this is going to happen because I shit on Machina control. I don't shit on Machina control. I think Machina control is good, but I'm a frog player, so naturally I see that deck as like not a threat to me, but I think it's a threat to value in Blackwings.
Yeah,
and Cyber Dragon was never part of the equation of why I think it's a free deck.
Blackwings need to they need to look in their side deck and like, I need literally every monster that is just slightly even good, because if I get Consecrated Light, I just lose.
Yeah.
Because like I cannot rely on Icarus attack being enough, because I can just run in the Starlight Road, I can run in the Royal Decree. They could book a moon if I try to attack with literally any other monster. It's just tough. Like this monster, and also you can just 1-for-1 this guy, which is just ridiculous because it's just searchable by another
typing,
one of
its attribute, its level are all relevant. It being a fairy, it being a 1-star, it being light, everything about Consecrated Light is relevant. And I think that, I know you said that if you have it with the Kree, it's like an FTK or OTK against Blackwings, which is true. Even if you don't have it with the Kree though, they need to out it or they cannot play the game at all. And there are just certain times where, as a Blackwing player, because I'm also a Blackwing player, like I play Blackwings a lot. Not like you guys don't, it's not always forward facing, but I do have a video on the channel of me topping with Blackwings, and I gave you all like 9 matches that I played or whatever. I like Blackwings as the deck. I think it's one of the best decks in the format. I stand by that. I don't think it'll change anytime soon. But Consecrated Light literally gives me like PTSD, because you can lose a game to anyone if a Consecrated just resolves at the right time. And yes, there are outs to people play Fisher, people play DDV, people play Icarus Attack if you get the opportunity to do it at the right times and all that stuff. It doesn't stop the fact that this Floodgate makes it where your entire deck is cut off though. Like it doesn't, all of the outs, like, oh, just have the out, bro. That's not like a real thing. Like just have the out is cute to say, like when you're just talking, but when you're sitting there and you're the Blackwing player holding your hand,
you got 3 blizzards in your hand and you're staring down a Consecrated Light and you're like, oh.
Yeah, like I fucking you start losing the game. Everyone's seen that situation where like you have to set a Blackwing against Consecrated Light. And then when the opponent who has the Consecrated on the field realizes that you're setting Blackwings just to like live, or to try to set up a Bryonic play or some shit because you're trying to like, oh, I'll just like flip up the Blizzard and I'll flip up the Bora and I'll synchro in the Brio. Like that's not happening.
Keep in mind that play takes 3 turns to set up.
Yeah.
You can only set a monster once per turn, set a Bora, set a Blizzard, and then on your 3rd turn is when you get to finally try to out it.
Yeah.
And that's not to speak about that the Blackwings have horrible defense stats, so they die to anything. So God forbid your opponent has a monster to start being like, what you doing with that shit on the field? Get that shit out of here.
Yeah, Consecrated literally makes Blackwings have to put in what I would consider bad cards to just like out Consecrated Light, like in the off chance that like, oh, a Consecrated dropped. I've literally played against and have been played against where my opponent randomly in the middle of a game just fucking summons a Consecrated Light, and all of a sudden a game that I was absolutely winning and dominating and whatever, I'm now like, holy shit, that just took all the steam out of my boat. Like my boat has no steam. Like I'm about to lose because he just did that. If I don't draw something very soon, I'm going to lose the game. In fact, in that video where I topped with Blackwings last year, there was a match against a Twilight Swarm player. And if you look at the replay, and I discussed this and everything, if you look at the replay, at one point he consecrates me, and I don't do anything for 3 or 4 turns until I eventually draw brain control to go with a Sirocco. Like, and I think I also drew the Sirocco in those 3 or 4 turns, but I literally like couldn't do any. I couldn't play. I just had cards in my hand. I could not play. And then eventually I drew brain control. I was like, okay, brain control it, tribute it for Sirocco, and then I started doing stuff and I won. But if I literally just didn't draw an out, or to be more specific, because this is what really happened, he had consecrated, but he was under DDV, I remember he monster reincarnation to get back consecrated, which is how he had. So he got DDV'd, and then he monster reincarnation, discarded a card, brought back consecrated, summoned it, cut off my entire hand for several turns. The problem is he didn't have any pressure. So he had consecrated, but his deck, because I think he's playing, like I said, Lightsworn or whatever, he didn't have even a Lila, a Garroth. Like a Garroth would have ate. A Garroth would have ate down. Like a fucking stray Garroth would have been too much with the consecrated. But he didn't have any pressure, so I was able to like draw and not be pressured by like a fucking Aaron kicking me in the chest every turn. You know, like that would have been too much. Like an Aaron just kicking me in the groin every single turn.
Yeah, God forbid you get a smart idea and you set into the consecrated and he draws Aaron off the top and says, spin that shit back.
Yeah, consecrated is nuts. For what it does to Blackwings, one of the best decks in the format, it is nuts. It's a floodgate. It is nuts. But the S tier floodgate monster, the absolute S tier floodgate monster, when people talk about Dyna, I don't like the disrespect that Dyna gets sometimes, because while I think most Edison players know that Dyna is ridiculous. I do think that most of us know that. I don't like how people only talk about the part where Dyna prevents special summons, and they never really talk about the part where if you flip a Dyna, it's Raigeki.
A field. Yeah.
It's fucking Raigeki. Like,
yeah,
why are we not discuss? Like, why is that not? That is unhinged. The amount of times I've had a duplock and a 0 on the field, and my value opponent just goes set, and I think, oh, it's a Ryko, you're cooked. Attack, and they're like, actually, you're cooked. Kill your Dyna or kill your 0. Kill your entire fucking duplock, your Substitoad, your dupes. Everything dies. Like everything, and you used your battle phase. Everything dies. The fact that Raigeki's on flip, it also. I've been saying this too, because people are like, oh, what do I side deck against Amaryllis? Do I side deck DD Crows? Or do I side deck like, people come up with all Soul Release, people come up with all these fucking terrible ideas against Amaryllis. You don't side any of that shit against Amaryllis. You don't need that against Amaryllis. You know what you need against Amaryllis? Fossil Dyna. Fossil Dyna is a god card against Amaryllis. There's nothing they can do about a face down Fossil Dyna. Think about it. Titanium doesn't negate it. There's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do. Amaryllis doesn't, like, there's nothing they can do. If they have a field of Titanial, Amaryllis, 2 Dandy tokens, they feel, oh, I feel so good. I'm out here with my plants. I'm doing the thing. And you just go set Fossil Dyna pass. What do they do? Like, what do they actually do? First of all, they don't even know what it is because it's a set monster, right? But the other part, they're probably like, oh, it's a Ryko. I'm just going to negate it with my tokens. And you're just like, flip Dyna. Flip Dyna. Flip Dyna. Flip Dyna.
Oh,
flip Dyna.
Okay. You flip Dyna. This token, right? This token I normal summoned. It wasn't special, right? I get to keep this one. Yeah. I can keep this one, right?
Dyna is crazy. Dyna is crazy. Not just because of the fucking Vanity's Fiend effect that it has built in, but because it randomly, for no reason at all either, for no good reason, it just has Jalgan the Spiritualist for free when it's flipped.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise that pretty much every side deck of the big 3 and even like the big top 5, top 10 decks that aren't frogs play Fossil Dyna, because it just absolutely just says no to the nonsense. It's like, okay, you're gonna play passive, summon Armwing from Vayu effect, normal Dyna, big damage.
Yep.
Oh, you are absolutely cooking my shit in with the absolute mega field, absolute 0 mega field. You got all the water monsters that you substituted out. Raigeki your field, summon another Fossil Dyna, or just like play from there. Like, it's
the amount of games that I've lost, that all of you who are watching this and are listening to this have lost to a big monster. Let's say Dark Arm, let's say Armwing is good enough. Honestly, a lot of the times, a monster that's like sizable, and by sizable, I really just mean over 2,000 so that it can beat over like Dupe Frogs and shit. A monster that is sizable plus a Dyna is GG for so many decks. Like that combination of summon Armwing or summon Dark Armed, which I know that like Dark Arm is a one of and it's very specific, but the amount of times that Vayu fucking goes Dark Arm Vayu is crazy. Like that is a very normal thing, unfortunately, because that deck is broken. The deck is broken. Value's broken. The amount of times that deck just goes like Armwing, Dark Armed, normal summon Dyna, or just special summon Dark Arm, normal summon Dyna. Like,
I mean, I already know I lost. If they knock me out of brain control range,
yeah.
I'm like, I can't even take your Dark Arm and like try to like super turn this around.
It's 4,000 by itself.
I have to normal summon this junk Synchron, attack your Dyna, hope to God that it goes through, because if you have a back row, I'm just like, well, I'm cooked. Yeah. And then I set my Raigeki break, you pop my shit, I have no cards, no life, you summon an Armageddonite and you fucking kill me. It's like, Dyna just facilitates very ignorant play patterns, and it also mitigates against like the special summoning, like ridiculous situations that like come from frogs, that come from plants. Like, Dyna just plays no nonsense with that shit at all.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, moving on. So we just did a video, Master Disaster, where we played the deck that got top 8, I believe, which is actually crazy. 2,000 person tournament, SJC Edison in 2010. Flamvell. So Fire Dog is basically Shura, but super nerfed. He has higher stats, but all of the cards surrounding Fire Dog are way worse than all of the cards surrounding this guy. So this guy has Blizzard and Kalut and Gale and Vayu and Dark Armed. This guy has none of that. He just has a 1400 tuner that is 4 stars, which is like, okay, 1400 gets on the bottom list, so you can make Stardust, which is nice. Tuner, cool. Fire, so like you don't get weirdly outed or cooked by like these guys or anything. The problem is there's only 2 playable Flamvells in the format. It's Dog and it's Magician. The other problem is that level 8 synchros fucking suck. In Edison format, level 8 synchros, like making 2 of them, because the goal with your Flamvell deck is to attack with Fire Dog, get Magician, this is ideal. Synchro, make an 8-star, play Rekindling, Synchro, make another 8-star. That would be good in 2010. Again, in 2025, there aren't 2 level 8-star synchros that I'm like, oh my god, he has a Stardust and a Thought Ruler. How will I ever deal? Oh, wait.
Summon Blizzard.
Activate Miracle
Make
Fusion.
Goyo Guardian.
Oh, special summon Fortress. Attack into Stardust. Kill the other one. Like, the problem is that 8 stars, this is just a fact that I've known for years, by the way. 8-star synchros in Edison suck. Like, they just suck. They're all very, very specific. They're all very situational. Like, oh, Stardust right here when I have all these back rows, or with Mirror Force, whatever. Like, Stardust is nice. Stardust is probably the best one, right? Then Thought Ruler's like, oh, if I know they have Deep Prison, or I have a good read, or like Mirror Force is gone, or Torrential's gone, then I can summon a Thought Ruler. Like, Colossal's like, oh, he might have Honest or Kalut, and like, this guy protects me for a couple turns until they fucking inevitably Caius me or Brain Control and kill me with it or whatever. Like, they're all just so mid. I actually think, so Stardust and Darken are like solid, but by no means are they on the level of like Brionic. Like be for real. Brionic,
Mario's the best.
Goyo Guardian, yep. Black Rose Dragon, like. So 8-star synchros. Also, here's the other problem with, and this is all related to Fire Dog, because we're talking about like if you're playing Fire Dog, then the issue is that you're making 8-star synchros. Is like that's what your deck usually is doing, is making 8-star synchros with Fire Dog. The problem is Dark End requires a dark monster to make, and you won't just make a Dark End and pass. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So on the turn where you would want to like OD on your opponent, after you go attack with Fire Dog, get Magician, and then like make an 8-star synchro, and like you could hold Rekindling until next turn, but then if they start outing your shit, it might not be another turn, because the format is actually way faster than that now. And so Darken is cute, and people didn't have Darken back then because it was a prize card. Now we have access to Darken because it's been reprinted, and on Dueling Book every card is free. Even still, 8-star synchros in general just are not very good, and you can only make Darken if you have Spy. Like, that's the only way you can.
That's the only playable card you can really pair with it. Like,
yeah,
playing any other 4 dark monster is like I can't even think of anything that you would like. No. Like, it's not even a question. Yeah. So Flamvell Fire Dog sucks. It's like way worse than Shura. Shura's just golly. Shura's a fucking god card. This card is like, first of all, Shura doesn't even get walled off by a set dupe. Like, if I set Dupe Frog against Shura, then it's like, okay, Kalut over it, right? Like, I just Kalut over it. Or like, oh, attack, I'll take 200, next turn summon Gale, fucking Gale, half the Dupe Frog,
gain advantage. This guy doesn't have an honest, at least in this format. I don't think Flamvell, is it called like Flamvell Fire Baby? Is like, there's a Flamvell honest that gives them 400 attack. I don't think it's legal in Edison format. Even if it was, I don't think it would really like change anything. But the fact that this thing cannot beat over a Dupe Frog. And I have to be clear that like, if your deck can't beat over a Dupe Frog with like regular activities, that is a problem for your, like, that is a big problem. You have to be able to beat over a Dupe Frog. Like your deck just has to naturally be able to deal with Dupe Frog. And if it can't, then you end up down here. You end up here. Look at where they're at. They're fucking down here. The things that really have a hard time with a Dupe Block, they're all here. So
Super Smash, they're all here.
Okay, this card's been getting popular. I don't think this card is that great. I don't know what's going on with the Amaryllis community. Like, I know that they call this like they have like this Theft Amaryllis deck. I don't know why they made their deck worse against DDV when DDV became popular. I think Cyber Valley's fine. I don't think it's broken. They're not playing machine dupe. They're not like, they're just like, oh, I'm going to steal your monster and then like draw 2 cards and pass with an open field. And I'm like, okay. Like, I don't really get it. Like, I genuinely, I do not get it. Like, Cyber Valley in Amaryllis just seems like, it just doesn't seem that good. Like, I don't, like, I'm not intimidated by when they go summon Cyber Valley. I'm way more afraid of them trying to kill me with, like, you know, the Lonefire and the Miracle Fertilizer shit and all that. Like, it's just okay. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's broken, but I do think it's weird that right now, when we're experiencing literally the most deck devastation viruses ever, they're like adding cards that get deck devastated to their deck. When I think that Amaryllis, the like original build, not the original build, not the Carpath build, but like the Little Man Yu-Gi-Oh builds, I think that those builds were pretty resilient against DDV. If you look at their list, they don't actually play that many cards against DDV. There's like 2 Lonefires, 2 Dandies, a Debris Dragon, a Morphing Jar, a Plague, a Gardna. I think I just counted 8 cards. That is actually very low for DDV targets in an entire deck list. Like, that's pretty good to have your deck only have like 8 cards against DDV, and 2 of them that I named are Dandelion. So you actually don't even really care that much. But yeah, I don't get the hype around the Cyber Valley thing going on. I don't see it. Maybe I have to like lose to it a bunch of times.
There.
Okay.
There's nothing there. Yeah. I mean, it's literally, it with Mind Control is a solid combo of outing a problematic monster. That's about the biggest highlight that this card ever really gets. Everything else is super conditional. The battle phase effect is like kind of a joke. Like, yeah. Honestly, it's just a sign of weakness if you're really out here like needing to skip a battle phase. Yeah, the card just is not very good.
I actually think, surprise, surprise, because the end of 2024 showed us that Teledad is just a deck now, like a tournament winning deck. It won one of the Peak of the Beaks. It also got second at YCS Niagara, and but if you asked me before 2024 at the end of the year what I think about Krebons, I would have told you that it's not very good. Like, why are you asking me about Krebons? The card is just like rant, like it's a rant. I've played against it. I actually I got 3rd place at Niagara because I lost the fucking Krebons. Literally because it was Krebons too. Like, I'm not even kidding. I was attacking him with a Gores and like a Stratos, I think. And he had a Krebons on the field, so he paid 1,600. And then on his turn, he went Summon Greffer, pitch a card, send Malicious, Synchro, make Goyo, attack, take your Gores, and I started losing immediately. And I was like, yo, the fact that Krebons made it where I could not out his, like, I couldn't get over it. Like, I had to just attack into it, make him take a little bit of damage, and I already had the Gores on the field, so it's not even like I could do something to not get my Gores taken by Goyo. It weirdly is a good card. I don't really know how else to explain it. You just have to kind of play against it to see what I mean. But like, it's better than I thought. If you asked me before the end of 2024, I would have been like, oh, it's probably like here. But after experiencing it for myself and like playing against it a couple times, I actually think this card is a lot better than we all realized it was. And so I'm going to put it at like in B tier and like pretty high B tier. I think that Krebons is a solid normal summon in the format. This card is also insane, right? Like, Ryko's broken. It's not as broken as these guys that like flat out win the game. Like, just buy the, like, these cards flat out win the game. But Ryko is it's a step towards winning the game. The only real problem with it is that more and more decks are getting like hip to it, so they're doing annoying shit. Like Amaryllis naturally plays the triple Titanial. People make Stardust against value, it just folds the entire deck. Like just like, oh fuck, there's a Stardust. Now Just Mill. Every time I see people type Just Mill, I'm just like, you feel bad. Like you just.
Oh, Just Mill is a complete concession. Just
Mill is crazy.
Yeah, I think the thing with Ryko is that Hamster only really gets impacted by DDV, and that is, DDV is a big part of the meta. It's not to understate
so does Ryko. Ryko gets fucked by it too.
But DDVing like Hamster all the time is a little too idealistic. Everyone stopped siding in Nobleman because Nobleman just like completely does nothing for when your opponent's just like, I'm not playing Hamster anymore. I'm playing Vayu summon all my monsters this game.
Right.
And I'm not setting a single card. So really when it came to Ryko, Ryko is the more vulnerable part of the whole Hamster Ryko Caius engine. There's a lot more exploitivity that you can do there. You can attack it with monsters that, are not really fragile to getting Ryko'd. Obviously, as you said, making Stardust against it is very impactful because you get only 50% of the value of resolving the card. And when you're thinking about, do I want to waste my turn using my normal summoning, setting a card to only get 50% of its effect?
Yeah.
It's kind of questionable to be like, well, should I even really be doing that? Can I do literally any other play? Because that doesn't sound too ideal.
Yeah. Somebody said Green Gadget's in shambles, and I'm just looking at him by himself. He's been down there alone for so long. And I'm
going to be honest, he might be by himself by the end
I'm
of this.
looking at the rest, and I don't see anything as bad. I'm just going to put like, okay, Thunder King.
I think it sucks in this format.
It
doesn't do anything.
I don't really know, like, it's bad. Thunder King is bad. I just have to say, like, Thunder King is not very good. Every time I've seen a Thunder King, I've never been like scared of it. If you play Tengu format though, Thunder King is a fucking god card because every single deck in Tengu format basically needs to either search or it plays duality or whatever, or they special summon Exceeds monsters with one card, Tour Guide. But he's broken in that format. And in Edison format, there's, again, I gotta bring it up. Dupe Frog is a problem. Ryko is a problem. Hamster's a problem. Card Trooper's a problem. Gale's a problem. The list goes on. This card isn't very good.
The problem about Thunder King as well is that all the situations where an inherent summon would come up with him, it's kind of weird to say, even though Tengu is in a later format, but I feel like most of the time when Thunder King would negate something, Edison just has more follow-ups from like the grave.
Yeah.
Like you have Miracle Fusion afterwards. You have Vayu effects in the
fact that
graveyard
it doesn't stop Miracle Fusion, that was a problem in itself. Like that is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like
It doesn't stop Miracle Fertilizer. It doesn't stop the summons. It doesn't stop Substitoad from doing its.
Oh, this is actually a very well-known thing. Thunder King doesn't actually stop special summoning. I don't know if anyone really knew that, but I'll tell you right now, you could play a 40-card deck list of I'll let you play 40 Thunder Kings against me, and you won't stop a single special summon in a deck that I play.
I also think, I know people are saying, I'm looking at the chat and people are saying like, oh, it's good against Machina, but like, is it though? Because here's my problem. I have a couple problems. Here's my problem though. Machina plays triple Ryko and sometimes they actually play triple Hamster. So like, and some of them play Cyber Dragon, some of them play Gale. You've all seen these Machina control decks that play like all these, they play Card Trooper. I don't think Thunder King is really that good against Machina. I think that it can be okay, but like you're just playing against a Hamster Ryko Caius deck.
So let me get the play pattern here. Summon Thunder King. Oh, I can't summon Fortress? Okay, set Ryko. Oh, you have a Caius in your hand? So are you telling me you're going to tribute your Thunder King to stop my Ryko? That's fine. Go ahead and tribute your Thunder King. Banish my Ryko. I take 24. Okay, now I can summon Fortress. Yippee. Attack your Caius. Like,
oh, this is not.
There's no good way to exert pressure against, like, decks in this format with Thunder King because every single top deck plays traps. All the traps out Thunder King.
Look at this. Okay, I just clicked on a deck, a Machina deck. I just found one by Anthony Alvarado. Another, he's not a YC champion. He's an SJC champion. This is Anthony Alvarado, who plays Edison format, one of the best GOAT players in the world. Actually, shout out to him. I think he just won GOAT Worlds in 2024. Anyway, 3 Ryko, 3 Hamster, 2 Cyber Dragon, Card Trooper, double D-Prison, double Bottomless, Mirror Force, Raigeki Break, Charger the Light Brigade, Brain Control.
Bro, even Jiu-Jitsu Master, he'll teach his ass karate. He'll spin his shit back.
I genuinely don't think, in Edison format specifically, I don't think this is a very good card. I think if you have space to side this card, I'm wondering what deck you're even playing, because like, how do you have space for that? How do you have space for Thunder King before you put in this or Vanity's Fiend or shit like that? I don't know where you're finding space. I don't know what deck is really like, look at this. Every card in this deck outs it. Also, to be clear, if Fortress is in the graveyard and he has one of these in his hand, this just 1-for-1s. This 1-for-1s with it. It just 1-for-1s with it. Like, it just 1-for-1s with it. Discard, bring back Fortress, you're gonna negate it, okay? And like, okay, people are saying not charge. Sure, I can't activate charge when Thunder King is on the field, but if I activated charge before Thunder King was on the field, I just have a Ryko. I have an out to it. Like, people go activate charge to mill, to see if I mill a Fortress or whatever, and then they go like, a lot of people do this, they go charge for Ryko, and then they don't fucking actually set Ryko, they set Hamster to kill you. They set Hamster to OTK you. Shen Chan, thank you for the sub. But yeah, this isn't very good. I'm not gonna harp on this any longer. Since you guys brought up Machina so much, and I genuinely do not think that like Thunder King is good against Machina, especially looking at the deck lists that are modernized Machina. It's not good. I did not mean to put him there. But yeah, I'm gonna put Gearframe like high up here. I'll put him like here. Gearframe's broken. It's not. I just hate when I bring this up so often. I just hate when people call it Stratos, because it's just not as good as Stratos. Like, it just factually isn't as good as Stratos. Stratos is a fucking hero monster. It enables Miracle Fusion. Stratos searches out like 5 different cards. Gearframe searches out really 1 card, and the card that it searches out is also most of the time a -1, because in order to get the Fortress that you searched out of your hand, you have to discard another card. So like, you go +1 when you summon it, but it's a +1 the same way gadgets are a +1. Like, is it really a +1? You have to go summon, discard Fortress, summon it. So you went -1 to summon your Fortress in the first place. Like, it's not Stratos level, but it is good, and it's at 3, and it's cute, it's Earth, it's 1800, it has great stats. It's a solid A tier, like a solid A tier.
The biggest thing that we said, especially in the last video, is that Stratos is the gift that keeps on giving, because once Stratos has left the field, it has an impact for the rest of the game, because it can just be used for fodder for Miracle Fusion. And also, the thing about Gearframes on the field, like, sure, going like Gearframe summon, search, summon another Gearframe search is cute, but Stratos also has the additional utility where it's like, alright, I'm full, I don't need any more monsters. Let me get a back row from you real quick. Yeah. Like, that is just so much better already, in my opinion, because the inherent +1 of Gearframe, as you said, is -1. The utility of being able to pop spells and traps and also enabling Miracle Fusion, it's not even, they're in the different,
people comparing it. I hate when people compare Gearframe to Stratos, because it's like, okay, do you just mean that they're both 1800 monsters? Because Stratos has another effect. Like, what are we talking about? Miracle Fusion summon 0, normal summon Stratos pop. Like, that's a real and common thing. Special Prodigy, normal summon Stratos, pop. Activate Return, bring back Malicious, bring back Plague Spreader Zombie, bring back Stratos, pop. Like, Stratos is broken. Stratos is not on the same, we are not doing this. One of them is at 1 and one of them is at 3 for a reason. Like, Stratos is broken. Stratos was banned for like fucking 10 years. Stratos is way more broken than Gearframe. I think Gearframe is solid. It's an A tier. That's a pretty high ranking. Is not S tier, because the deck that you play Gearframe in isn't as good as any of the decks that you play Stratos in, except like obviously Hero Beat, but like, is that really a deck still? I'm joking about the Hero Beat thing. Like, I don't think Hero Beat's unplayable. If you like Hero Beat, please play Hero Beat if that brings you joy. If you like summoning vanilla monsters and getting them fucking bottomless and looking at the Gemini Spark that you don't have.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Hero Beat is unplayable. Never play that shit ever again in your life. He's in C tier. Look at him.
Moving on.
Where he is.
Moving on. Okay.
Let's talk about Stratos now, since we.
No. I'm not going to do Stratos yet. I'm gonna save Stratos.
All right.
I want to do some of these like I got some wonky ones in here. Let's just start filling in like the C tier a little bit. So Phantom of Chaos. Phantom of Chaos. Yeah, people of color, POC is his acronym. Phantom of Chaos is like, in theory, this card is broken. Like, in theory, this card is broken. In actuality, this card is like, the decks that play it, I don't know if they're solved yet. And that's the thing, like, about Phantom of Chaos. I don't think that we've seen the peak of Phantom of Chaos. Is most people just resort to Amaryllis, not Amaryllis, what's that thing called? Norlaris. Most people just resort to Norlaris. And so, and Norlaris is kind of ass now. Like, it just doesn't, you lose half the time. Half the time you actually get the Norlaris off, you probably lose more than half the time when you actually get it off. Because the decks
about all the
that
decks that you put their entire hand in the graveyard, and think of how bad that is for you.
Think about how they top deck. Think about if you play against a frog player and they get Treeborn in the graveyard at any point, now all their top decks are terrifying. Substitoad, Monarchs themselves, Junk Synchron, like Miracle Fusion if they're playing that build, Salvage or Pot of Avarice if they're playing those builds. Like, you do not want to be top decking against a frog deck. You don't want to be top decking against Value either. I actually think that Value is a scary deck off the top because so many of its cards are playable. So like, oh, you Nolaris me? Cool. I discarded a Sirocco. So now every Armageddonite is ridiculous. Like a Rhoda, and I'll play 3 Armageddonites because there's 2 Armageddons and 1 Rhoda. So any of the Armageddonites are just ridiculous off the top. He's like, summon, send Value. All of a sudden you're losing. You're fucking losing now. But Phantom of Chaos, I think, has like potential at some point to be more ridiculous than it is right now. But right now, not only just results, but like in actuality, I don't see it doing anything. So I'm just gonna safely put it in C tier.
Yep.
Volcanic Rocket, ass. Like, what is it? Blaze Accelerator. Blaze Accelerator is not even a good card. Blaze Accelerator.
So bad.
Blaze Accelerator requires you to play multiple more bad cards in your deck. You have to play Volcanic Shell in your deck to play Blaze Accelerator to play Volcanic Rocket. This is a very deck costly package, and it's not even that good. You skip your battle phase. You skip your battle phase. What's up, Macro? You skip your battle phase to pop a card, which is super relevant. Like, skipping your battle phase should only be done for extreme circumstances like Soul Exchange. But skipping your battle phase for the sake of like playing Blaze Accelerator, Volcanic Rocket, and Shell in your deck, no, it's just not very good, unfortunately. Like, I wish it was better, but drawing Volcanic Shell, drawing multiple Volcanic Rockets, because you have to play 3 of it if you're going to play the card at all, it's just not, it doesn't actually hold up in modern Edison. Like, I wish it did. I actually love Volcanic Rocket as a design choice. Like, I love the way it's designed. It gets Blaze Accelerator from the graveyard. I think that's so cool. But like, every Volcanic Rocket you draw after the first one requires that your Blaze Accelerator is already in the graveyard to get value. So then they become aliases, but like worse than Alias. And well, you know how we feel about Alias. So yeah, Volcanic Rocket is pretty crap. Okay, this thing I think is actually a solid B tier. Winged Rhinos is not like broken or anything, but it's also not ass. Like, if you asked me before 2024, I would have been like, oh, it's ass, obviously. But there's a whole deck, there's an entire deck that is playable just because this card exists. And the deck ain't even bad. Like, it's not even a bad deck.
No, it's not. It has a good Blackwing matchup.
It does. It also just has a good matchup with people who don't know what they're doing against a deck like this. You blind Heavy Storm against this deck, thinking that you're about to get value because they set a bunch of background like chain. You actually went -1 on your, on your Heavy Storm, and then you end up you lose the game now. Also, just by the way you lose the game.
When the day is done, you're like down 4 cards.
Because at the end of the day, the day gotta end. You don't have Heavy Storm anymore. You just lose. So Rhinos is really good. It makes Deep Prison and Bottomless, which are the 2 most played cards. Hold on, let me show y'all this. Is the stats? Let's look at Peak of the Beak 8. Where do I go? Let me Peak of the Beak 8. Let's get some stats. Bottomless and Deep Prison, the 2 most played cards in this tournament. Hold on, I'm gonna go to another tournament. I just want to prove this point. I'm gonna go to, let's see, what do we got? Where's a big one? EWCQ 3. Oh, look at that. What do you know? Bottomless and Deep Prison. The most played cards in the format are Bottomless and Deep Prison. So the fact that, like, where's he at? The fact that this guy blanks the 2 most played cards in the format, I think we don't talk about it enough, but there's value in that. There's value in blanking the 2 most played cards in the entire format. So yeah, he's not bad at all.
He's got good stats too. 18.
18 is good. Beats over Greffer. I think beating over Greffer is so important in this format, but we'll get to that when we get to Greffer. Okay. This thing, like, I actually think this card is good. My problem with it is, like, I would put it like here. My problem with Koaki Mirror Guardian is that it's just played in a deck of rocks. And like
Return the pebbles. Return the pebbles.
The rock deck, I love the rock deck. I've done many videos on it, and like, I think it's such a cool deck that came out in Edison after 15 years of the format existing, or whatever, 14 years. It's just not good enough though. It's a better Doom Caliber Knight. Doom Caliber Knight, if you notice, is not even on this tier list because it's not worth tiering. It's actually not
right
worth
next to gadgets.
It would be, if I had Doom Caliber Knight on this tier list, it would literally be in D tier. So, but Guardian is a better version of that. I think Guardian is a good card by itself, but the deck it's in is not good. Like the deck it's in is not good is the problem. The same problem with Volcanic Rocket and Flamvell. The decks they're in, their effects are solid. Like, this card is literally the same as Shura technically, but like, it's in a much worse deck, and this is in a much worse deck, and this is in a much worse deck. So because of that, it's like, okay. Dimensional Alchemist. Dimensional Alchemist is a solid B tier. The decks that play it, which is really just like Pudding Fairy deck at this point, like, I think the only real deck that plays Dimensional Alchemist that I've seen in a while is Pudding's Fairy deck. And in that deck, this motherfucker is not real. I hate Dimensional Alchemist because it loops Christia. Christia is broken as hell. I think Christia and Dimensional Alchemist are a match made in heaven. His stats are great. 1300 to get under bottomless, 1800 to crash into Stratos and other monsters that are like, you know, or beat over Greffer, which is, again, super important. Beat over Lilith is just a Lilith attack mode or whatnot. Crash into Gearframe, so you guys both kind of, you go even there, right? Because like the Gearframe went +1 technically, and then the Dimensional Alchemist, you know, if you get a card back, then like you didn't go minus, so you guys just kind of even on cards there. D-Alch is nice. It's a deck dev card, so it's never going to be like as good as the broken deck deviable cards. Like the top cards are deck deviable too, but they win the game. They just win the game. Dimensional Alchemist, it misses sometimes, and you're just like, oh, it missed, so I'll lose. Like it fucking missed, bro. Yeah. I'll lose. It missed.
I think D-Alch, and I don't know where we really put it initially. I would even reckon, without even checking, that we probably put it up a little bit higher.
I don't think we put it in A tier.
Maybe higher B tier, but the main thing that I'll say about D-Alch is that I think it's definitely a product of its time, of old Edison, where I feel like this card had a perception that was a lot stronger, especially when like it was like fairies in a not DDV world with like triple like DD Warrior Lady, because like D-Alch, the DD Warrior Lady loop get back thing was legitimately a strong like strategy back in the day, in like early Edison. Now D-Alch, its value is just so, if you're not getting back Christia, you're kind of not doing enough.
I mean,
it's just not good enough.
I'm pulling this up for reference. This is the original Edison normal summon tier list we did back in 2020. Yeah, 2023. There's the date, if you guys can see that. Let me make sure. I don't know if you can see it because of where my chair is at and where the chat is at. But anyway, this was the original tier list that we did. Just for like context, I don't even know if D-Alch was on this one.
He's not even on this.
He's not even on it. So this is back in the day.
Yep.
So just for context, like this is the original one, and D-Alch, if I had to tier it, I think it's a solid B tier. I'm not too crazy about it. I think also solid like B tier. Debris Dragon, it's good. Don't get me wrong. Like Debris Dragon is a good card. It's just not like crazy. It might be like maybe bottom of A tier. I'll say bottom of A tier, actually. I think Debris is like bottom of A tier worthy.
I think you have to give a bottom of A tier because in every other deck, it's just pretty solid. Like, you know, making Black Rose, making stuff. In Dragons, it's broken.
Yes, that's what
And
when I think about dragons, that's what makes me rate it higher.
Yeah, like dragons, it's like it's not the same card at all in dragons. It makes Brionic like a fucking breeze.
So
it
enraged,
summons Redhead like a fucking breeze.
Enraged Peacock. If you're watching this right now, I do have a little announcement. Enraged Peacock just brought up Trishula, and he said if Trishula was in the format, the breed gets a lot better. And we are doing on February 22nd, I believe it is. We're doing a Edison tournament with a special rule. You guys know every couple of months I like to do these Edison tournaments with a rule, a special rule. This special rule is that you can play one copy of Trishula in your deck. Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, the Synchro, the 9-star Synchro, the first Trishula. Because I know there's like a bunch of Trishulas now, but you can play one copy, so it's limited to one. Everything else is the same as Edison format, but Trishula is at one. That tournament is going to have a $200 prize pool to start. If we get any donations or anything like that, we'll add those to the prize pool. But that is going to happen on February 22nd. If you want to play in that, you need to join our Discord server. And there's a link to our Discord server. Well, I should say there's a link to our Patreon to get to our Discord server, because you can't get into our Discord without going through our Patreon. We have like 3 different tiers that get you into our Discord server. So if you want to play in this tournament, that's how you go through with playing in it. But Trishula is in Edison format at 1. February 22nd, we'll be doing that tournament. Debris Dragon, I do expect to see play because it is broken as fuck to have 3 Debris Dragons and Trishula in the same format. In Tengu format, they have 1 Debris Dragon because Trishula is ridiculous. So, anyway, yeah, I think it's a solid A tier, like Stengo said, because Dragon Turbo.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep. Okay, Sangan. Sangan is definitely like giving C vibes. It's crazy. When I first came into Edison, Sangan was played in like a lot of decks. It has the same problem as like a lot of these recruiters, but it's a little bit more proactive because you contributed and stuff like that. But it just wasting your normal summon on a Sangan doesn't feel good anymore. It used to. It doesn't feel good anymore.
I think the biggest problem with Sangan is that the decks that need to play it, they really need to see that card. So like you kind of take that loss of like that wasted normal summon. But like I remember once upon a time, like with a lot of different decks, like Diva Hero,
yes,
even like early Frog decks.
Yep,
they played Sangan.
Dream Frogs played it for a while. I think James, when he first played Dream Frogs, he had Sangan in his deck because he like tributed for his Substitoad if they didn't touch it. Search out Dandelion or Fishborg or whatever.
They just realized they're just like I can move on from this. I don't need the Sangan.
Yeah, it's too slow. It's just too slow.
I can fit something so much faster and more broken. But some decks actually absolutely need to play Sangan. But in the meta of like what dominates Edison format, Sangan pretty much doesn't see any top tier play even a little bit.
Yeah, I think like solidly up here. The only reason Zombies is playable is because of this card, Goblin Zombie. This card is terrifying because if you don't touch it, so like if you don't touch a Sangan, you're fine. If you don't touch this motherfucker though, you lose. Like if this just sits on the field and they get a turn to summon a Deep Sea Diva or a Krebins or a Plague Spreader Zombie or Tributor for Caius, you just start losing the game and like drastically losing the game too, just because this card did not get touched. So while this card, like, yes, it is in the same vein as like a Sangan or kind of like a recruiter, it
makes an entire deck.
It makes an entire deck, but more importantly, it creates an inevitability situation where you do need to do something because you can't. Zombies is not a deck that you can say I'm not going to do anything. Like you can't. Okay, if they have a Shining Angel, I don't give a fuck. I don't have to play the game if you put a Shining Angel on the field. Like nothing about a Shining Angel says I need to play the game. Honestly, nothing about a Sangan really says I need to play the game either. But a Goblin Zombie literally terrifies people. Terrifies people so much that like attacking a face down Pyramid Turtle is a death sentence in this format, and people are scared of attacking when they know you're playing zombies. If you have a face down, they're like, fuck. If it's Pyramid Turtle and he gets a Goblin Zombie, I might literally lose the game.
Yeah, it's like an inverse situation where it's like you don't want to attack Hamster to like pretty much enable the engine, and you want to attack the face down against zombies because you're like, well, if I don't attack, you just get a free 4 on the field to like go Diva, go Caius, like it's ridiculous.
Grand Mole, probably top of like C tier. This card, I think it was really only played in Hero Beat side decks from what I remember. Sometimes I think like early days people would side it in Vayu for other decks, but like,
Can I be real?
go ahead, be real. This is the time to be real.
This card sucks.
Yeah, it kind of does. It's in C tier.
It's terrible.
I don't know why I put it here. It's not at the top of C tier. But again, these aren't really ordered, so don't pay too much attention to where they're at. But like,
ordering all these is asking too much. But like, to really put it, like, this card is terrible. Like,
yeah,
the absolute best thing that this card can do is trade favorably into a 0.
Yep, that is the best thing you can do.
Use of this card, period.
But
because go ahead.
I was gonna say, but the problem with that is the only deck that plays absolute 0 now really is Hero Frogs, and like Hero Frogs, if you're spending your turn summoning a Grammel, I think you're already losing the game. If you can even attack, you might not be able to attack the fucking absolute 0 if you're playing against Hero Frogs. Also, Diva Hero is not really a deck that's played that much anymore. There's only like one representative for the deck right now, and that's Oscar. So even the deck's main advocate, which is a true hero, he doesn't even play Diva Hero anymore. Like, he gave up on the deck. He plays fucking Blackwings and Value like everybody else. So it's like that. The Grammel used to be good when Diva Hero was way more prevalent, when zombies were way more prevalent. Now that those decks are not as prevalent, Grammel just fell to the wayside. Also, again, I gotta bring it up again, but DDV. So, okay.
Yeah, horrible.
Rescue Cat, A tier, like,
broken.
I don't know where in A tier. I don't really care where. I think it's probably better than like Gale and Shura.
I think it's worse than a Floodgate. Like, that's kind of where I would put it. Like, honestly,
it's like, an A tier summon. Like, it's definitely a summon that you're kind of like, oh fuck, he has his cat. Summon cat good. Summon cat good. Summon cat good. But summon cat is cat good. I don't know.
By the way, we were watching DB earlier, and somebody literally has the name on DB called Summon cat good. So shout outs to you if you're listening.
Yeah, Cat. I think Cat's actual problem though is that in Edison format, it's only played in GBs and like Cat synchro decks or whatever. It's also played in X-Sabers. Now, I wasn't going to put any respect on X-Saber's name, but if you noticed, I did add some X-Sabers here to rate. Cat is like catastrophic in X-Sabers, is actually broken as fuck in that deck. In GBs, it's pretty solid, but then depending on what they drew, it could be awful. Like if they drew the Sam Knight or whatever, then it's like, oh, it's bad. So Cat is good. It's just not like, it's not S tier. It's not better than a lot of the A tier cards. I don't really know where to place it. Like, it probably is somewhere like here or something. Like, I don't know. It's in here somewhere. I think Diva's also broken. Like, Diva's an A tier for sure. Like, Diva's just a broken card. The only problem with Diva, really, the only real problem is that you have to play cards like Spine Gilman and Mermaid Archer. But Diva is broken, like flat out. It is the first tour guide. It's the first tour guide because you don't pay a cost for it. You just summon it and tour guide, right? It is a broken card. It's just that like Diva Hero Beat as a deck isn't that good anymore. And Diva Hero, while still topping events, because it just got top 8 at YCS Anaheim, which was like over 300 players, and the guy who played it is known to top events with Diva Hero. It also just got top 8 at Edison Worlds on Format Library. So like Diva is still like a broken ass card. I don't think that that's going to change. I think that the concept of just summoning a monster that gets in of a monster is just a broken concept. But yes, Diva's solid A tier. Okay, Summoner Monk. I mean, I don't really like this card. I'm going to put it at the bottom of B tier. I don't think Summoner Monk is that great. I'm gonna be honest. I don't.
Its best usage case is really just the Summon Cat.
Yes, that is what people do with it. And even that is in Edison right now, that's not that powerful anymore. Like it used to be, but it's just not that powerful anymore. So I'm going to put it at the bottom of B.
Yeah.
Junk Synchron is also like solid B tier. I don't think it's like a crazy something. In Frogs, maybe it's like at the bottom of A. Because like the only deck that plays it usually is like Frog decks play it, and it is broken in Frogs.
When it comes to Junk Synchron, it's a very similar like Debris Dragon situation where like, except it's even a little different because like Junk Synchron's really unplayable in literally any other deck.
Yeah, I think that Frogs. because it's played in Frogs, it is broken, and the way Debris Dragon is broken because it's played in dragons is the way Junk Synchron is broken. It's played in one of the best decks. Junk Synchron is main decked in one of the best decks in the format, like hands down. So I'll put it at the bottom of A tier. It's not like a god card or anything, but it does like
crazy.
It's searchable with Rhoda. It gets under bottomless. It does little tricks with like Swap Frog and stuff like that. It does broken openings with 1-for-1. If you discard any monster that it can bring back, it can go 1-for-1 discard, like let's say Substitoad. Summon Substitoad to the field. Normal summon Junk Synchron, bring back the Substitoad that has this effect negated. Substitoad effect, tribute the negated one. Summon Swap Frog, send. Bounce the Junk Synchron to my hand, continue with my Substitoad combo. So Junk Synchron enables some bullshit. It's good. It also enables those Junk Warrior OTKs where you go like special swap, summon Junk Synchron, bring back Dupe Frog, Synchro, make Junk Warrior. Junk Warrior is 4,300. And there's 2 Swap Frogs on the field, so that's 6,300 damage on the field just because of that. So it's broken. It's broken. It's just not like high.
Searchable
broken.
out the Dyna.
Technically, yes. Searchable out the Dyna.
Yep. Searchable out the Dyna.
Morphing Jar, solid B tier. Like, it's not like a crazy OD card, but it's good. Morphing Jar is good. Don't get me wrong. Like it's. I think B tier is like where things are still like good cards. They're just situationally good.
I think for this one right here, like this is probably the only card out of the entire tier list that has like the most variability in how strong it is, because it's a extremely sacky card.
Yes.
Like it can be super S+ tier, like it could hit everything out of your opponent's hand and you could draw the nuts, or the inverse can happen and like you don't draw anything and they're like, oh, you gave me Mally, you gave me Treeborn, you gave me Pieces, you gave me Gardna, like thanks. Like it's very fickle if it's going to be broken or not.
Yeah,
but it's good.
I think Spy is also solid B tier, like somewhere up here. We just recently saw this card also top 8 2 tournaments, Anaheim and Worlds, because 2 Diva Hero decks topped like back to back, basically Anaheim and Edison Worlds, and they were both playing Spy. Like they were both playing Diva Hero with Spy. I'm pretty sure. Like I'm like 99% sure. Actually, I could just check. Right, I have a database. Diva Hero. Oh, whoops. Yeah. ShamWow got top 8 at Edison Worlds. Diva was played in this deck. Diva was played in the top 8. I think Spy's fine. Like I think Spy is a fine card. I don't think it's like bad by any means. I think that it is obviously worse than Hamster, but it's similar in that it gets Descendant, but it doesn't have that mill, which the mill can be everything. Like the mill is the reason why Vayu is one of the top 2 decks in the format. It's about the mill. The mill is what makes things unhinged. The mill is where things can go wrong, where you're winning a game and all of a sudden the mill is what made you lose the game. So that's what separates this.
Yeah, it's like the main thing, because Diva Hero actually doesn't usually like the mill. There's too many spells that Diva Hero plays that it doesn't want to mill, so it gives it the same kind of like play pattern of like having a big butt, summon a thing, pop a thing, and then like do a synchro or make a monarch. But it doesn't sacrifice, randomly milling, good cards.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's solid. It's just it's nothing crazy.
Nothing right home about.
Yeah, I want to put this B tier the same way that like Treebonds is annoying. This thing is annoying, but then it also has this weird effect where like if it catches a Treeborn Frog or whatever, it can be very, very problematic. And I think that is like strong. It can make me not bring back my Treeborn Frog if I don't have conversion, which is really good. X-Sabers are like, so today, full disclosure, me and Stengo were having a conversation this morning, and he was telling me how he's been playing X-Sabers against random people on DB, and he said, I actually think the deck is way more solid than I gave it credit for, and that most people give it credit for. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, I've been playing it. He's been playing it against Cairo as well, and like surprisingly winning sets and games with X-Sabers. So X-Sabers is better than everyone thought, really, except the people who swore by X-Sabers, right? They're the only people who believed in it from the beginning. But Full Helm Knight is part of the reason why the deck is decent, because it can like stall for the turn to get the second X-Saber on the field and summon Fall Troll. I think the second effect where it beats over something in defense, like Amaryllis, is relevant. Treeborn is relevant. A Ryko that might just be sitting there because sometimes they don't have conversion for Ryko, so it's just like on the field. That can happen. It's a good card. It's a 2 3 stars Earth. It gets under bottomless, decent damage. It's a good card. Like it's a solid B tier.
It gets under Fissure and Fissure and Macro as well. It doesn't need to send a Grave. It special summons regardless if it beats it at any point.
I don't know what you were saying at first, but I agree.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
I mean, let's be so fucking for real right now.
Here's all I have to say. Here's all I have to say. Has your opponent ever summoned a Greffer? Turn 1, milled some shit, passed, and it wasn't immediately an emergency to get it off the field instantly. Like, the red sirens, the alarm bells, they are ringing when Greffer is on the field. It needs to leave expeditiously. It cannot stay for a second turn.
Greffer is one of the most ridiculous normal summons, and it also has this random thing where it can be special summon, like Gale. It's one of the most ridiculous normal summons in the format, and it's not up for debate. It's not. You should not have access to your entire deck when you summon a normal summon guy like this that's searchable with Rhoda, and you could play 3 copies of it if you want it. You have access. The decks that play it pick up their deck and they say, what situation am I in right now? Here's a Kais with no back row. I think I'll make a Goyo Guardian. Oh, he's playing an annoying deck like GB's. I think I'll just have a Necro Gardener in case my D person gets MST'd or something. Oh, he's open right now. I think I'll do 4,000 damage. like, oh, I have a Dark Arm in my hand. I need it live right now. I'm gonna summon it on the pitch.
Oh, I have Burial in my hand. I can go for game right now.
Like, oh, he's at 8,000. No, he's not. Special Greffer. You're dead. Like, Greffer, we gotta be honest, because I know it doesn't, like, when you look at Greffer, you don't think, when you look at it, like, oh, that's one of the best normal summons in the format. But, like, if you really think about Edison now, think about 2025 Edison, think about everything that we've seen now. This card wasn't even in the top 16, I don't think, of SJC Edison. I'm going to check. I'm going to fact check myself right now. Hold on. Did anybody play this? Did anyone play? Oh, I guess I can't like see the list here.
No, we could find it very easily, I'm sure.
There's a website that has a list of. Yeah, well, yeah, we're doing this. I guess this does work, right?
Still no. We're getting through it fast.
Let's see.
Previous. Yep. Keep going.
Still no.
Still no.
God no.
Still no. Still no. Still no. Definitely no. Oh, best potential. Nope. Still no. Nope. Keep going. Nope. Keep going. Nope. Definitely not. Oh, hell no.
Look at this handsome man.
Why would we scroll back up?
That is a handsome man right there anyway.
Oh god, do we have a chance? No, we don't. Keep going.
Okay, these decks didn't even top. These are something called SJC notable. So to be clear, to get back to the point, Greffer wasn't even played in 2010. Like, fact, we just verified it wasn't even fucking played in 2010. Greffer is one of the most unhinged cards ever made. Like, that is 2018. Do you guys remember in 2018 when a deck called Goki, if you even know what some of you guys have no idea what I'm talking, I'm speaking a different language right now. There was a deck called Goki in 2018, and like Greffer and Armageddonite and like the Dark Pendulum and shit like that. I remember Armageddonite was like an OT, like an FTK or something. Like if you summoned an Armageddonite, they lost the game because you summoned an Armageddonite. They like lost the entire game because you went summon Armageddonite or summon Greffer. Like summoning Greffer, Malicious was at 3 at one point. Is it limited in Modern? Yeah.
You know, Greffer has been limited to 1 since 2019.
Holy shit.
It has not changed since 2019. It's almost been limited to 1 for, pretty much 4 years.
2019, that's 6 years ago now almost.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm being slow. 6 years.
Has Armageddonite been touched? Can you check that for me, Stingo?
Yes, let's see.
Because I also would argue that this motherfucker, he's up here as well. Like he's not as broken as Greffer. Greffer is like outrageous.
So Armageddonite was at 1 from 2018 to 2024, went to 2 in April, and now today in September of 24 it is at 3.
Okay, so they just unrestricted it after they touched everything else that made it broken. Anyway, so these two guys, Armageddonite and Greffer, are two of the best normal summons in the format. This is like so obvious to anyone who's played Edison for like 2 days. You've gotten beaten by Value Turbo probably enough to where you realize, damn, these cards are like really strong. How come you keep picking up your deck? How come you keep searching what you need for the exact situation? How come you keep doing half my life points in one battle phase on turn 1? Like, crazy cards right here. These are crazy, crazy, crazy cards right here. Okay, so Reaper, I'll put Reaper at the bottom of B.
Stop.
You think maybe C?
It's 100% C.
Okay.
The problem with Reaper is that there are so many things going against it. Not only is it so idealistic to get a direct attack on this, you only really get a direct attack on like the most passive of decks, which is generally frogs on their first couple of turns.
Yeah.
You're running into deep prisons against pretty much every deck. You're not beating over any other monster in pretty much any other deck. It also has a fucking pitiful amount of defense, so it just gets pierced on by Bora and Armed Wing and just dies the Gale. It dies to anything that targets it whatsoever. Spear Reaper is like at best a wall against only some decks.
Yes.
It gets Kaiust, it gets Ryko'd, like it never gets to stay. It's not here for a long time. It's here for a good time, but not a long time. And usually it never gets to have its good time. I think Reaper is just too idealistic a card. I think a slower Edison format.
It used to be played in Value way back in the day. They all cut it. They all found the light that is Necrogardna, and they have since stopped playing Reaper. I don't think anyone still plays Reaper in their Value decks anymore. If they are, they want attention. It used to be solid. I think that you just don't have the space for it unless you're like willing to cut other key cards. So Reaper is really only played in Zombies. Zombies is already a deck that's pretty underrepresented and pretty, like, Zombies is still tier 1.5 in my eyes. It's still like up there, but is obviously not tier 1. Reaper's played in that deck, but I don't think Reaper's played in that deck because like, oh, Reaper's so broken. I think it's played because it's a searchable Goblin Zombie card, and it's like that, you know, it's good to have. But yeah, Reaper fell out of grace when Edison just changed over to being a more like proactive format. Like, look at the cards that are in S tier, look at the cards that are in A tier. Reaper does not stand amongst them at all. I think Reaper could be at like the bottom of B tier, but that's really as far as I'm willing to go with that. Real quick, I'm doing a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament after this stream, single elimination. The winner gets $20, and a bunch of people already signed up. I'm going to start it in like a second or whatever, and then after we're done this tier list, I'll just switch over to watching that tournament as like a second part of this live stream. But just kind of full disclosure, so we will be having an Edison tournament. I call it the Edison Quick Slurp. Winner gets $20. It's single elimination, so it's just like a quick little $20, you know, it's free for the people in my Discord server. They can all enter it. I don't care. It's free. And it's $20 to the winner. Quick Slurp. The Edison Quick Slurp. Anyway, so we only have a couple more guys to tier. Sirocco, B tier, like nothing crazy. Like, Sirocco is crazy, but it's not as crazy as the crazy cards are. I think where Sirocco is like absolutely an unhinged is the double pump shit, but that specifically requires Return from Different Dimension or Brain Control. And while that's very good, you know, I'll put it at the bottom of A. I'll put it at the bottom of A. But like it's not like crazy, because here's the problem I have with Sirocco. You can't summon it turn 1. So like if you draw it in your opening hand, unless you have a Greffer or something that you're converting with turn 1, it doesn't really like do anything in your opening hand. Frogs can play really annoyingly around you having Sirocco in your hand, especially in the first couple turns when you want to deck devy them and they just like swap Frog, like send Treeborn, attack you or whatever. And now like all of a sudden they have Treeborn in the graveyard, so deck devy is already worse. Then if next turn they go summon Substitoad as a follow-up and they go dead my deck out, then deck devy gets even worse. You're still staring at the same Sirocco that you haven't been able to put on the field yet. So like that's one of my problems, because Frogs is one of the most relevant matchups. It's one of the other opposing decks to Value in Blackwings. But Sirocco, make no mistake, is a broken fucking card. It is pump Bora to make it 3,700, Pierce. It's double pump for OTKs and Value Turbo a lot of the times. It's a 5-star monster that you can normal summon with 2,000 attack. Doesn't really require a tribute, which is why it's on this list at all. You can set it. You can fucking set it, and then set Deck Devastation Virus, and people don't even know that you did that, because how could you know? But yeah, it's very, 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 very good. It just isn't as good as, like, look at S tier.
It doesn't shine as brightly as pretty much everything else, which either Floodgates is a deck engine facilitator by itself, or special summons. It does have the, you know, ignorant OTK stuff, and, you know, it is a DDV target, but generally, if, like, the best use case is that, like, it ends up being like a beater, it's like that's pretty low on, like, the amount of value that it brings.
Zombie Master, I think, is B tier. Like, hold on, let me. All right, Morphing Jar, you actually can just, like, go down here. Anyway, Zombie Master, I'll move this, like, higher. I'll probably put it, like, somewhere around here. I don't really know, to be honest. Like, Zombie, I know it's B tier. I just don't know where. I don't really care where, to be honest with you guys. Zombie Master is solid B tier. Like, it's good enough in zombies, and you do play it. The problem is, for whatever reason, it's different than Lumina, who's down here. Lumina, we're going to put her in A. It's different than Lumina because if you, like, priority discard a card with Zombie Master and they go chain anything like Bottomless or Book of Moon or Torrential, he doesn't summon anything back. And that's really, really bad. It makes it where you really don't want to use priority with this guy unless you specifically have a card that you need to get in the graveyard, like Mizuki or Plague or something like that. But other than that, priority with this guy is a mistake. It's dangerous if they have a back row. Lumina, no matter what happens, she always summons the monster back, which is broken. She also gets under Bottomless Trap Hole innately. She is a Lightsworn name. She's a unique Lightsworn name always because she's limited to 1 in the format. She's light, so she can be honest. She brings back a Lila. She brings back a Garoth. Lumina Garoth is obnoxious. She puts a Lightsworn name in the graveyard for JD, bring back a name that you have multiple copies of. Insane. So, like, yeah, this absolutely ridiculous card.
Yep. Yeah, she's broken.
Yeah, I think X-Saber Arabellum, like, C tier. I don't really care where in C. Like, I'll just put it somewhere, like, here-ish. Arabellum is nice, like, in terms of if he gets his effect off, discarding a card out of your opponent's hand, he has to direct attack to do it. But other than that, like, I don't really want to look at my opening hand and see an Arabellum when people are playing things like Stratos and Greffer, and they can't beat those two commonly played normal summons. Like, I really don't. You
never want to attack a face down with it too. What is it gonna do?
Right. Like, I'm just not a fan of that at all. So yeah, I will pass on, like, Arabellum being really high or anything. I think it's like a solid C. You know, there we are. This guy, Swap Frog, top of A tier, not up for debate. Swap Frog is, first of all, Swap Frog won a YCS in 2022. Let's just start there. Swap Frog is a card from the future, just like Substitoad. It is broken. It has 4 effects. I think that all of them are absolutely unhinged. Bouncing a monster for cost is crazy. Special summoning itself, because a lot of the best cards, Gale, Greffer, Swap Frog, they just randomly can special summon this card.
I'm actually very surprised that you don't think it's S tier, but low.
It could be up here. I mean, the more I'm talking about it, like, if you're listening to me cook right now, it could actually just be higher than, like...
I don't see what argument is really against it. I mean, like, Treeborn Access, 1 card by itself.
You know what? You're right, because it got better, because there's yet another frog deck in the format.
Yeah, and, like
it
we
got
can even
better.
go back to the OG stuff of, like, Bouncing Monarch, Bouncing Kaya specifically is broken. Like, bouncing most monsters,
bouncing Stratos,
like,
bouncing Kaias. Bro, you know, like, one time, so I found out this play after I forgot. I didn't know the play, and then I lost because of it.
You're talking about. Yep.
I lost because of this at Nationals. I didn't even know the play. My opponent had a Fossil Nine on the field, and I had a Miracle Fusion in my hand, and I drew Swap Frog, and I had Brain Control, and I thought that, like, oh, I kind of just lose. And then I realized that I could go summon Swap Frog, Brain Control, Fossil Dyna, bounce his Fossil Dyna back to his hand with Swap Frog's effect, play Miracle Fusion, attack for game. That is not okay. Swap Frog is ridiculous. It got better because Fishborg Frogs exists, and it's yet another deck. So, like, it just got so much better. So yeah, I agree.
You were trying to undervalue it because you were like, I can't have all the frog monsters up there, but it's just the truth.
It's just the truth. It's just the
Swap Frog is just too good.
Salvage, Pot of Avarice, bouncing things, sending things, getting Treeborn set up. It makes 4 different frog decks playable that are good. There's, like, another 10 frog decks that are also decent. Like Swap Frog's broken. Swap Frog's broken. How do you feel about Blizzard? Blizzard's broken, right? We still think that Blizzard's broken, right? He has to be up here.
Yeah.
He has to.
Yeah.
Be. He's the best out of the Junk Synchron, the Breed Dragon. He's the king of them. Like he's the king of that.
All the get a guy out of your grave guys are this is the king of it. And the reason why you would think in some cases you would think just because it's one card Bionic, it's one card Goyo. You know what it actually is? For some reason it just doesn't do anything to the monsters that you bring back. It's like, oh yeah, the guys are good. Like you can flip them to attack and you can attack with them next turn. You can also just have with Gale. So it's like, you could just Madara with your Gale. You could be like, you got rid of the one Gale? How about another?
Yeah.
Kill your other 2500 monster off of a normal summon. Like, not only, like, we already know what the obvious, like, it's a 1-star 6. It's a 1-card 6-star Synchro, right?
Yep. Or
But,
5-star.
like,
It could be Catastor Android as well.
Yeah, but the fact that it literally does nothing to the monsters that you make with it.
Yeah, it doesn't negate them or anything. It doesn't put restrictions on them. I know what you're saying. Because, like, the Breed Dragon says, negate the effect, and it has to be 500 or lower.
It has to be, negate the effect, 500 or lower. You can't Synchro summon with another 4 with this guy,
Right.
and you can only make dragons.
Right.
Like, that's 4 restrictions on one card.
Yeah, it's quite
That's
quite a lot. Junk Synchron says very similar things, negate the effect and all that. Somebody said it has to be an attack position. That's correct. The Breed Dragon has to summon an attack position. Blizzard can only do defense, but like that's actually for Blackwings, I would say it's technically a bad thing, but like whatever. Blackwings just synchro with the shit anyway as soon as they summon it a lot of the time, so it doesn't really matter for Blackwings. Okay, yeah, Blizzard solid S tier, like not up for debate. I don't know where to put her. I think like she's the best of B tier. Like chat, what do y'all think? Do you think that I think Lila's the best of B tier?
I think she would only be the best of B tier because she just is JD. Like she's just in a JD deck.
But even now though, like people are playing it in Vayu. It's played sometimes in Machina control. It's played.
No. That's what I'm saying. Like
yeah.
Her best thing is that like she's in a deck that like clears the way for JD, mills for names, and then she just gets abused in every other deck where it's just like I need another MST to land my boss monster. Like she is just that good. She's a bottomless trap hole eater.
Yep.
And she also just takes out other ridiculous cards as well. Yeah, I mean, she's great. Lila is one of the best splashable cards if you're playing Ryko. If you're playing Ryko, you can probably, like, over half of the time also play Lila in your deck with charge.
Yes. And I like a true hero, just top Anaheim with Lila as his, instead of playing like triple Ryko, he played, I think, double Ryko and one copy of charge, or one copy of Lila with like charge and stuff like that. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Like I'm not mad at it. I think that she's broken because if she stays on the field, she ends up milling 6. And her only downside is that Bottomless Trap Hole is the most played card in the format next to D Prison. And so like a lot of times she ends up getting Bottomless. She draws Bottomless in, like she inhales that shit. But other than that,
it's funny you say her biggest weakness, but it's also her biggest strength as well. Because it's like if you have more special summon plays after that, like that's what you want. It's like, oh, you Bottomless that, perfect arm wing attack.
yeah.
It's strong.
And then where do you guys think I'm going to put Stratos? And I want y'all to be so serious right now. Where do y'all to end this part of, because we're going to do a tournament. We're doing a tournament right after this, but to end this part of the live stream, where do you think I'm going to put Stratos? Like, and I want y'all to be so fucking serious. I'm reading the chat right now. I'm reading the chat, and so far the vibes that the chat is giving me, the vibes that I'm getting from the chat are correct. Stratos is S tier. Where in S tier? I don't really know. Here's the thing. I think it's like here. I don't think it's like, it's definitely not better than Greffer. We cannot cap.
Not better than Greffer.
It's not better than Lonefire either. Lonefire is fucking crazy now. Lonefire is crazy now. If you know the war crimes that Lonefire commits now, you will understand why I have Lonefire so high. Some of you might be like, why is Lonefire so high? I promise you, Lonefire is committing war crimes. Lonefire is secretly, it's the Hitler of Yu-Gi-Oh right now. It's secretly building up strength and committing actual crimes. But on the topic of Stratos, Stratos is solid S tier, 1800 searchable warrior that searches, that pops back row, is a crazy card. Enables Miracle Fusion, crazy card. Beats over Greffer, which I said I would talk about this a little bit. Miguel, thank you for the sub. Beating over a Greffer is actually a criteria to having a good deck in this format. And I realized this when I was playing with Jeff Jones' deck, and I could not beat over Greffer. I could not reliably, like if my opponent summons Greffer, his deck reliably could not. Now, granted, it wasn't played in 2010. Like people just didn't play Greffer in 2010. But like it reliably could not beat over a Greffer, which means that Greffer is going to resolve every single turn. And a Greffer that lives is usually GG. You have to be very careful when you're playing against Value Turbo to not leave a Greffer on the field. It's like when I'm playing against Value, I make sure that I kill their Greffer because that card is problematic as fuck. It is the second best normal summon in the format right now to me. It might be like third, but either way, being top 3 is enough to make me like hone in on Greffer. Like Greffer is a problem. So Stratos beating over it. Stratos beating over Armageddonite, Fossil Dyna, Card Trooper, crashing with Gearframe so that they both just go like net 0, like nothing happens. You went +1, I went +1. Crashing with Shura, I do this all the time. Just summon, attack into Shura. Like if you collude, it's fine. Like sure, you get your +1 or whatever. If you have collude, but like it's not the end of the world because Stratos already replaced itself in my hand. Beats over Gale, which comes up when they half my Monarch. I go summon Stratos, attack over your Gale now. So we're just playing this little annoying ass game. I was gonna say something else. Yeah, Stratos is just like solid. It beats over Lumina, beats over Lila. Yeah, just it's very, very good. It also searches like a myriad of cards. Like the problem with Gearframe is that Gearframe essentially searches one thing, which is Machina Force/Fortress. They're like the same card though. Whereas Stratos searches Malicious, Alius, Plasma, Doom Lord, Diamond Dude. I don't know if Prodigy, Edge, Alias, Ocean. If I didn't say that. Ocean is a big one. He just searches like too many things. There's other things that he searches that I'm not even thinking of, but he searches too many things. He also pops back row. So the fact that he pops back row randomly when like frogs have a weakness to like things like Mask Restrict technically is ridiculous. Like, oh, you have Mask Restrict on the field? Solid. Special Prodigy. Summon Stratos, pop. Normal summon Alias, one turn, next turn summon Stratos, pop. Like it. These are things that I've done. Like I'm speaking of like actual experience of what I've done with my Hero Frog deck. Is like
I've seen people flip Restrict on me when I'm playing Hero Frogs and thinking that's enough to stop me.
Yeah, and you're like, it's just not enough. It's just not enough. So, okay. I'm going to start the tournament now because, somebody said, Murray said, where is Lokari, bitch? Murray is threatening me right now. So right here, if you guys, hold on, let me move this further out. Murray, I'm exposing you. Murray is threatening me. Where is Lokari, bitch? I'm watching that tier list video. I'm sorry. Please don't yell at me. I'm just a boy. / duelist. Glad Beasts are all C tier. They require your opponent to actually like play with you. You need a battle phase, which they're all basically they're normal monsters in your hand and like even on the field. So they're all C tier. They're all, and we're talking about normal. This is a normal summon tier list. So they're all C tier. I don't know how else to tell it. They're all C tier. All of them.
Well, I'll tell you right now, you know that little guy that summons the, the 2 GBs out of your deck?
Sexiator?
You know, that guy is worse than Gadgets because he doesn't do anything when you summon him.
Yeah.
So